Gina Argento, Bogdan Bakarowski, Lisa Bamonte, Gina Barros, Keon Brooks, Eric Brusitis, Tom Burrows, Iris Cabrera, Bill Caponegro, Frank Carbone, Stephen Chesler,
Yeah.
Michael Chiricella, Teresa Cinciata, Giovanni D'Amato,
Here.
Aaron Drinkwater, Arthur Dibidowski,
Aaron's here.
T. Willis Elkins, Julia Amanda Foster, Chairperson Fuller,
Yeah.
Joel Goldstein, Joel Gross, Katie Denny Horowitz, Sonia Iglesia, Moisha Indig, Ozena Kaminsky,
Present.
Ryan Coonan, Joel Landau, Marie Leander, Abraham Leibovitz, Yoel Lowe, Trina McKeever, Sante Michelli, Toby Moskowitz, Martin Needleman, Rabbi Niederman, Karen Nieves, Mario Damaruk,
Here.
Janice Peterson, Dana Racklin, Ella Sable, Isaac Sofer,
Here.
Robert Solano,
Here.
Del Teague,
Here.
Tommy Torres, William Vega,
Here.
Maria Vieta, Stephen Weidberg, Simon Weiser.
Bogdan Bakarowski is present. Good evening, everyone.
Lisa Bamonte is present.
Willis Elkins too.
Katie Denny Horowitz also.
Tom Burrows is here.
And Gina Barros is here.
Eric Brusitis is here.
$18 members answering the call.
Thank you, Jerry.
Bakarowski is present.
Thank you, Jerry. The first item on the agenda is New York Department of Transportation. Is there anyone here to present on that item?
Yes, we are here. Rhonda, did you want to say anything first?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had trouble unmuting. Just to introduce Laura Martin to make the presentation for the Graham Avenue Broadway Flushing Triangle. And I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Okay. Am I able to share my screen? Let's see. Okay. And everybody can see the screen, right? Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Lauren Martin. I'm a project manager within the pedestrian unit at the New York City Department of Transportation. And tonight we are bringing to you a design proposal for the intersection of Broadway at Flushing Avenue and Graham Avenue. So a little bit about the exact area we are looking at. There have been previous community and NYPD requests for safety improvements at the intersection of Broadway and Flushing, including Graham. The project area is a very vibrant, bustling area. You have the three major corridors, mixed commercial and residential use, multimodal transit hub with several trains and buses and many other uses around the area, including the hospital And you also have, this is at the end of the Graham Avenue bid. So major reason why we are here is the safety data at this location. So all 3 corridors are Vision Zero priority corridors. There have been 2 pedestrian specific fatalities, one in 2014 and then again in 2021. And you can see the specific locations in this diagram here. However, there are also other severe injuries at this location as well for both bicyclists and pedestrians. So now we're just going to kind of go into a few of the existing conditions and kind of really dive deep down underneath the elevated train. So as shown on the map before, this is without the train blocking it. Here is Graham Avenue, Broadway, and Flushing. The main issue that we have been able to see here is that really Flushing and Broadway is the signalized intersection. And although we consider Graham Avenue to be part of the intersection just based on proximity, it is not part of the signal. So that means that that crosswalk is uncontrolled, meaning pedestrians have the ability to walk at all times. There is no pedestrian signal holding them based on the signal at Flushing. So kind of what condition that leads to is these left turns westbound from Flushing Avenue. They have a green light and are turning, and this is now a recessed crosswalk, which means the pedestrian is not necessarily looking for the driver is not necessarily able to see the pedestrian, and it creates very unsafe conditions. This is also a very wide slip lane here, and multiple vehicles make a very soft turn, turning on from Broadway onto Graham. And you can see here in this picture that somebody going around another car, there could definitely be visibility issues. There's also, we've seen some other pedestrian desire lines, which makes sense when you see the subway stairs here, and there's no direct path to accommodate. So now we're going to go through kind of the proposal that we have. And real quick, just to remind you guys all of our in-house project toolkit. So these are the types of things we are able to do in order to try to really improve this intersection, and things like the concrete sidewalk extensions, traffic regulations, markings, but also street furniture like the bike racks, planters, and city benches. So real quick, just back to the existing condition. And here is our overall proposed design, but we'll go through each element. So first we would be removing the existing concrete triangle and a bit of the existing northwest sidewalk there. And this allows us to then widen this, the slip that is currently there, which is actually very narrow, and we can then widen it to 35 feet wide. And that allows us to close this southern slip here with a concrete sidewalk extension, therefore allowing everybody to turn as if it's like a regular side street onto Graham Avenue. We're also looking to build a concrete sidewalk extension at the kind of wonky corner of Flushing Ave and Broadway, where we are looking to upgrade those ramps to ADA and also just clean up that radius. And then we are also looking to flare all of the crosswalks, just like we did back in 2018 to capture the Woodhall side stairs. We will be looking to do the same for the other stairs on Flushing, as well as people trying to go directly north onto Graham. And then lastly, since there is an existing bus stop here, we have been in communication with MTA and working with them on kind of the best way to improve this bus route. So the current proposal is to combine the B57 stop that exists in front of Woodhull Hospital and to allow the B43 to stop there. This way, traffic can just turn onto Graham and flow, and there is no issue of the bus needing to stop, especially with the double parking sometimes in the moving lane. And then just a quick proposed rendering. Here's the kind of existing conditions. This is Graham Avenue looking south onto Broadway. And with our proposed design, as I said, we would be looking to kind of get this part of the intersection actually away, since it is a separate intersection that's not signalized. We are working with the bid to really figure out the best way to utilize that space and see what planters and bike racks and possibly city benches that we can locate. And real quick, the benefits, you get shorter, safer crossing, widen the crossings as well, improving accessibility, and really trying to clarify the different vehicular movements in this area. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Lauren. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, this is Rob. I have a question. Incredible presentation. Our office has been there for 10 plus years. My question was, any consideration of just creating an entire pedestrian island like was done at Wyckoff? That had some resistance in the beginning, but over the years, I really seen the incredible value of just cutting off that traffic completely and then moving the traffic over to make the turn on Manhattan, and then come back onto Graham on like Manhattan and Cook to go around it. A little bit like what they did on Wyckoff and Myrtle, like diverting the traffic around it and creating that like pedestrian island. Was that considered in this plan?
Yeah, so we have looked at several different, reroutes of things, and this was kind of the best option in order for both pedestrians to have everything that they need, but also you do have the bus lines. And we were looking to reroute those, but we were again working with MTA, and even with any future going forward thoughts with that B43, they still really need to make that turn onto Graham and to access the businesses along Graham, especially starting at Debevoise going north. And there's also a fair amount of trucks here as well, so we had to take that into consideration as well. So this was kind of the best option in order to still allow vehicular traffic to function in this area, and also to give pedestrians as much space as possible.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Madam Chair, this is Willis.
Okay, I'm looking for hands. I don't see any.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Still getting used to WebEx. The question, was there any coordination with DEP and their green infrastructure unit to install green infrastructure, given there's a large amount of concrete being poured here?
So we have been working with Con Ed. Actually, there is a lot of utilities directly under here, and that does make it difficult for us to plant anything in the ground, just because there is, DEP infrastructure, Con Ed vaults, and things like that really make it better for us to try and get the raised planters in partnership with the bid. There's just a little bit too much constraints on where you can place green infrastructure and street trees, and it's just there's not much left for it when you take into consideration everything underneath.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you so much, Rhonda. Thank you, Lauren. Have a good weekend. Happy
Thank you.
Passover. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Easter. Holy Week. Thank you so much.
Chair Fuller.
Yes.
Madam Chair, did you take attendance?
Rob Solano speaking.
No,
Tommy
that's the
Torres.
other Spanish guy, Tommy Torres.
¿Cómo está? Buena, buena.
Who asked that we take attendance?
Kwame Torres, presente.
Why do you ask we generally take attendance before we start the meeting?
Just letting you know I'm here, Madam Chair. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item on. Next item on the agenda is a request for determination of the Board of Standards and Appeals. Is there anybody here to present on this item?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here. This is Paul Prue. I'm land use counsel to the applicant, 25C.
Thank you, Paul.
Good evening, everybody. We're here to request your support for an application to the Board of Standards and Appeals to continue construction on a hotel that is substantially completed. You may be aware that in April of 2018, some 4 years ago, the City Planning Commission adopted what is known as the Hotel Special Permit in manufacturing districts. And pursuant to that new set of zoning rules, hotels that were under construction were required to finish construction pursuant to the permits that had been issued prior to December 20th, 2021. And barring issuance of a certificate of occupancy by that date, such hotels, such partially completed hotels would need to apply to the Board of Standards and Appeals for vesting approval. And that's what we're here to discuss tonight. There are two ways to vest under the rules that apply here. One is a statutory requirement that dictates that you apply to the Board of Standards and Appeals within 1 month of the effective date, which was December 20th, 21. And the other is the common law approach. And we are here on a common law application. Common law, as you probably know, is the law that is developed over the years by judges in courts, and by issuing decisions, they create precedent. And pursuant to precedent, the state of New York has a rule that says that if you have applied for a validly issued permit and received it, and you have started construction, you have you've made substantial expenditures pursuant to that validly issued permit, and you have made substantial construction pursuant to that validly issued permit. And if the city of New York were to stop you from completing that construction, there would be substantial financial hardship. If you meet those three findings, you are then allowed to continue construction. So I would like to show you here, if I may share my screen, a presentation that shows you the property we're talking about and demonstrates how we have met those three findings, which are the same findings that we will show to the Board of Standards and Appeals to seek their approval. So do I have permission to share? I don't think I do. Is there a technical person available that can facilitate that?
Yes, you do have permission.
Okay, so I'm pushing the share button.
Okay.
Perhaps this is my own system preferences that I have to adjust. Sorry, I think I have it under control. Just a second, please. Okay, let's try this again. I'm sorry, I can't seem to make this work. I have issues with my own system preferences, it seems, but I can't seem to get over the objection. There are two of my colleagues that I believe are with us tonight. Would it be possible to enable them as presenters and allow them to share their screens?
What is their names?
I'm joined by Nicholas Liberis and Dawson Stelberger.
I do not see them here. But if you cannot get it to work, what you could do is send it via email presentation, and it could be forwarded to the board members.
Yeah, I did that previously. Maybe I could just walk you through the presentation verbally and see if that raises any questions or issues. It's not as pretty, of course, but what we're proposing here is this is on a large lot, and the lot is located at the intersection of Stewart and Flushing Avenue. And it's a corner lot that has been empty of any buildings for a number of years. It's accumulated garbage and has essentially been a wasteland. So we have purchased the property.
Excuse me, Paul. Excuse me, Paul.
Yes, ma'am.
Please put your camera on. It might help us better if we can see you, if we can't see the presentation. Thank you.
So, hello. So in 2015, 25C LLC, which is the entity that is run by Dawson Stelberger, who is a developer that works primarily in this portion of the neighborhood in Bushwick, and occupies a number of, or owns and runs a number of buildings that are commercial in nature. He is one of the few people out there that are developing new buildings and extending, enlarging existing buildings for commercial use. So for those of you who appreciate industrial retention issues, this is one of the few people out there that are doing that kind of work. So we purchased this undeveloped site with a lot of, with decades of junk on it, cleared it, and began excavating it well, we bought it in 2015 and with approved plans, and went to go and modify those plans and start excavation, and did so prior to the special permits being enacted. And the special permit allowed, or prior to the special permits in action, we had a 2.0 FAR on this very large development site of 22,000 square feet, again at the corner of Stewart and Flushing, with a large dog leg extending to the northwest, above or next to some railroad tracks. And so the plans that we proposed to the Department of Buildings and received approval for included a 3-story base that is fronting Flushing Avenue, and that then sets back to a 9-story hotel, which is approximately 200 feet deep along Stewart. And so this space would include a small community facility, at the back of the building, an event space at the front of the building, and approximately 80,000 square feet of floor area, and a number of hotel rooms, which I will tell you shortly. So as the deadline for construction of the hotel moved forward, we increased our construction and poured cement. And in the end, the relevant numbers here are that we completed approximately 75% of our excavation with one area. I guess the other part of the story that I failed to mention is that this was an environmentally contaminated site. And so the hot spot that we have not completely excavated yet requires dewatering and environmental remediation to a deeper depth than the cellar of the building. So we are doing that to both clean the site and make it safe for the public. We have completed 100% of our support of excavation work, which involved bracing the building, underpinning the neighbors, and essentially creating the forms for our foundation. We have completed 76% of the remediation work scope, except for the part I mentioned earlier. And we have completed 78% of our foundation footings. And again, there's the central area where the hotspot, as we call it, where we have some additional square feet of cement that still needs to be poured. We have completed 60% of our foundation wall, which in total is a 70% of total foundation completed, poured. In addition, we have the 8-story building that I mentioned, and we have completed 540 cubic yards of cement, representing 3 full stories, approximately 50 feet by 50 feet at the south end of the building. This is a building that will meet high levels of environmental standards relative to green technologies and LEED. And it is a building that also improves the environment by remediating the soil. So generally, we believe it has a positive effect on the neighborhood, and it is in an area of the neighborhood that has been underdeveloped and will have, we believe, a positive reception to activation, essentially meaning that the corner is a dead corner at the moment, and by building the hotel here, we will activate the corner with new active uses, bringing life and vibrancy to that corner. So we'll present this same presentation that I'm not presenting to you at the moment to the Board of Standards and Appeals. And when we do that, we'll ask them to allow us to continue construction of this hotel because, as I have just explained, it is substantially completed relative to construction and substantially completed relative to the costs. So I apologize that this is not a better presentation. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the technology here, but I'd welcome your questions and comments.
Thank you, Paul. Is there any questions? Tom, you got your hand up?
Yes,
Tom
I
Burrows,
do.
you got your hand
Yes,
up?
I do. Your Honor, I'm sorry. Madam Chair, this started off with a whole discussion about common law with one attorney in the courtroom. There's nobody presenting the case from the other side. I don't know what it is that we're supposed to do, but we as a community board have been opposed to these as of right hotels being built in industrial zones. I suspect that this is in the IBZ. It has like no purpose or use to being within an industrial area. I don't know what tourists are going to go there. My suspicion is this is going to be built and immediately turned over to the Department of Homeless Services to be used as a shelter. substantial. There's no building. There's a foundation. He's talking about like an 11-story building. There's not one story built. How is that substantial? I don't know if we're supposed to support this, oppose it, what it is we're supposed to do, but it sounds like a slick way to get around the push that we made to have that special zoning requirement that hotels just can't be built willy-nilly wherever they want to put them. So I don't know if Dell is here. Is this a land use thing? Does this go to the land use committee? Is there something we can do? It just sounds like, this one-sided story, 3 points. The guy is presenting his own point of view, but no other point of view. I don't know if Evergreen's been a part of this or anything else. It's like, what is it? What's the point? Why is it being presented to us? What are we supposed to be doing? Do we vote for it? Do we not vote for it? I don't get it.
This is Dell. I am here, and my question was going to be about the fact that he did not mention that he would be coming before the Land Use Committee in May. I understood that he would have to come back and present to the Land Use Committee, and that we would vote on a recommendation. Am I wrong?
When we file an application, we're required to put you on notice. And normally when we do that, the community board refers it to the land use committee first. And then after presenting there, it goes to the full board for a vote where we don't really present. The committee's recommendation is usually adopted. And so if that's not what's happening here, I don't know what the explanation is, but we're happy to present again or whatever. But what we're asking here relative to Mr. Burrow's question is simply we're putting you on notice. We're letting you know that we're doing this, and we're asking for a resolution and support to continue construction on this property. The common law issue is, an issue of law. It's under state law. We're allowed to continue once those findings that I described have been met. And if we don't continue, then there'll be a substantial loss. And, the state law allows us, therefore, to continue. So.
Well, okay, so Del Teague again. We've had these applications in the past, and in my experience, they came first to the Land Use Committee, and we would make a recommendation. We would listen. First of all, we would like to see pictures, and I think to me, you need to be able to show pictures of what you've done, and so people get a good, clear idea of what you've done so far. And yes, there is a determination which we have the right to look at, and we can recommend that whether we think you really have complied with the standards of substantial compliance or not. And then in my experience, then it goes back to the full board for a vote on the recommendation. And that's what I expected would happen here.
Right. So we're happy to try again on the technical aspects of the situation here. I'm not quite sure how to overcome that at the moment, but I'm sure we can figure it out. And then procedurally, we'll need to be invited, of course, but if you invite us, we will gladly come and present again.
You are invited. Consider this an invitation.
Okay.
Does it need to be in writing?
Well, no, but I think there's
normal course of business.
Yeah, you'll just I think if you inform your staff, it'll probably happen.
Yep, they're here. They're informed.
So shall we consider this tabled then until we can make that presentation to the committee?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it will be on the agenda for the May Land Use Committee, which I believe is May 2nd. Joanna, am I right on that? I believe it's May 2nd.
It is May 2nd.
Yes, and you will be on the agenda. But I mean, Chair Fuller will make this determination, but we usually allow other members to speak tonight and give the land use committee some sense of what questions and what ideas they would like the land use committee to explore.
Yes, it will go to committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Paul.
You're welcome. Steve Chesler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for the well, not the presentation, but for speaking to us about project. Yeah, a couple things, that worry me is, just a location of a potential hotel here. What the ramifications will be for this immediate neighborhood. Just kind of transporting what's going on like on Wythe Avenue to this area. I don't know, it just seems, I don't know, precarious to me. But as far as the environmentals, it's very troubling that so much foundation work was done and yet the remediation is not finished. But, I mean, was this a brownfield? Was a voluntary cleanup program? Or?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and so, is there some? Is there going to be a sub-slab barrier put in place and a depressurization system? Love to, I guess before the land use committee, it'd be good to have a copy of the environment, if you went through OER or DEC, the notice and just a summary of what was involved in remediation, because going, I guess, below the water table, I mean, that's, I don't know, that's something eyebrow raising, that's for sure. Yeah, and I'm just looking at the, I emailed the board your presentation, and there's this huge, I don't know, I'll call it a flap that's extending above the roof line. It's just a skinny little flap that's just kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. Is that going to be for billboard or sign purposes, or?
No. No, I'm not quite sure which design feature you're speaking of, but there's no sign here. And
well, up on it's slide 3 of the deck. And if you look on the right, there's just this huge skinny extension going up above the roof. It just looks, I don't know. But that's aesthetics. But yeah, yeah, I'm just wondering why. I mean, you kind of gave a quick, pitch for why we need a hotel in this area, but I really love to hear from the locals how they feel about it. Just seems troubling to me, just to bring in kind of a wild nightlife scene, and yeah, tourism could infuse some, financial energy into the area, but that has kind of really negative ramifications. So, thank you.
thank you. We will take those comments and respond to them the next time we meet. We do have, I'm receiving texts that indicate that my colleagues are ready to present this, if you wanted to try to allow them on again.
How long is your presentation?
Well, I think really we just need to show you the pictures.
How long is the pictures, how long is it?
If you give us 5 minutes, I think we could probably.
Do the board agree to continue with the presentation, the visual? Does anybody have any objection to continue with the visual? Okay, Paul, go ahead.
Again, I need you to.
Madam Chair, I have objection.
All right, so then let's just do it the next time when we can start with a fresh.
Who is the individual on your staff that has the presentation so we could bring him in?
Nicholas Liberis.
Joanna?
I am looking.
The second one, Nicholas L.I.
That's him.
Okay.
He's an attendee versus a
I-
participant. Yeah.
Yes, I just made him
That's right, we'll bring him in.
okay, and I'm gonna pass the screen over to him.
Hey guys, thank you very much. The only thing is, can you actually switch me to the other, to the one of me, because I was having issues getting in here. So if you could switch to the other me, that's the laptop. So Nick,
Sure.
thank you. Okay, great. Okay, great. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Okay, so the subject project is out on Stewart Avenue and Flushing Avenue. Steve, this thing that you were mentioning, this big billboard looking thing, we have designed this project now three different times. The previous owner, Joel Goldman, had asked us to set something up for like a rooftop party scene, which is no longer contemplated in the same way. So this was going to be something where we were going to be projecting films basically to the back side of this element, but that's no longer the plan. So the most recent design, which we're not showing yet because it's still being cooked, takes this piece entirely out. So what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to emphasize the city views, which were formerly being. Oh, you're looking at my folders. Okay, hold on. Give me a sec. How do I do this? Sharing. Okay, is that better? This is better, right? Okay, great. Thank you, Paul. So yeah, so this element, Steve, will be coming out, and it's just going to be a very flat rooftop now. So what we've tried to do with this design and also with the other designs for these hotels is have these kind of porous areas that kind of invite the population in. So this is very much of a kind with everything that's happening in the neighborhood. It's very socially oriented. There's a big emphasis on having the local maker culture feel like right at home here. So this is something that we think is going to be from the street a very substantially positive addition to the neighborhood. As you guys are very familiar with, undoubtedly, this is a very trafficy street right now. So right now we're at the north edge of this very active area that starts by Wyckoff and then kind of heads south. So there's more stuff happening to the north, and we feel like this is a really like advantageous position, even though right now it looks a little bit bare, let's say. So we think it's a good spot to kind of function as a hinge between this north and the south, and we have a lot of hope that this is going to be something that will be built quickly and that will really have a positive impact. So these are just some images of this earlier proposal, which we're now in the midst of doing a redesign on. But the main idea remains the same in that we have this downstairs space. So there's a downstairs space which has a visual connection to the street and a visual connection to this backyard over here, and it's a multifunction space such that people can use it throughout the day, and then if they need it for events or they need it for something else, it could be also flexibly used in that way. This is a survey of the site. It's a flat site generally, and the one thing which is very, very interesting is that we have this 400-foot long rat tail on the back, which is where like a train used to actually go. There were train tracks coming from across the street. There's the Sweater Mill building across the street there, and the tracks used to run from there up Stewart and then down through this path. So that doesn't exist anymore, but we still have the vestige of that with this rat tail. So these are the plans. You can see that we have a nine-story building with a rooftop, and then there's a small structure on the rat tail, which is basically covering the parking. If you guys I guess we don't have time right now to go through the zoning analysis, but this is going to be shared with everybody, so you guys can go through this at your leisure. These are the plans. So this is the subterranean space over here. This is the cellar. To the left, you have all the mechanical rooms. The ground floor, you can see the double height space looking down over here with the big X's. This is the hotel lobby and some retail to the left over here. This is the second floor, which is currently contemplated as being community facility. There is a strong demand in this area for therapy type applications that the owners feel will both be good for the neighborhood and also complement the spa. Complement the hotel. So it's a spa type use with acupuncture, all sorts of holistic medicine type stuff. And we all think it's something that will be, warmly welcomed and also kind of a piece with the rest of the stuff going on in the neighborhood. We get to the hotel rooms on these next slides. So these are just very, very typical hotel rooms. There's nothing really special going on here. Just some sections, and then this is what we've accomplished so far with the building. So we basically excavated the entire site. The site is a Generation 2 brownfield. We've been able to maintain a track 1 to date. So we've completed 75% of this excavation. The portion that we haven't excavated is this center portion over here, section 4. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, we were kind of redesigning parts of it, so we decided to kind of hold off until that was done. And then number two, we were trying to combine the dewatering that we have to do over here with other building connection. So this took a huge amount of time to get approved, just because it's you have to get DEP, DCP, the Long Island well permit people, like everybody has to get on board. So it was a lot of coordination. So we said, let's just focus on getting everything else done, because it's not going to really slow us down construction wise. So we have 100% of the supportive excavation complete. Sheet piles, tangent piles, tiebacks. Then we're about 76 complete with that remediation. The only portion which still needs to be remediated is that area that is going to be dewatered in the very near future. This is how much of the foundation that we've done. We've done about 78% of the foundation footings. So again, everything that's not in that area that is going to be dewatered has been done, which is this green stuff. The foundation walls, the same story. Everything which is not in this future area to be dewatered. And we started to build the back half of this structure. The intent was to continue on with this structure, but when we looked at it from the construction logistics, it just didn't make sense to do so, because of the double height cellar space, we end up having these big beams that span and then land over here on either side of this space over here. So to mobilize the type of formwork that we would need to do such a thing, I mean, this is like very, very serious formwork. It's about 26-foot high ceilings. It just didn't make sense, to do part of it and then not do the whole thing. So right now, all of these foundations, everything has been set up for this double height space. All the foundations in the front, are also set up for this very, very particular hotel use. And these are some of the green features. And you guys have heard me speak about this before, but this is another project that we're pushing geothermal on. So we've already purchased the system, and this is a bespoke system for the hotel, and it's something which is going to tremendously reduce the energy usage. We might be able to use the hotel pool as a heat sink. So this is a really interesting project from the building sciences side, and we think that it's going to be something, that we could all be proud of, and that I think could be like a real model for other hotel development, and really anything that has a pool, because the use of the pool as a heat sink is something which drastically increases this efficiency, and also happens to give you a heated pool, which is obviously something desirable. And this is the timeline of the construction activity that we had to make for this presentation. not really the most interesting part. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. So let me know.
Thank you, Nick.
Sure, no.
Elkins?
I have a question, Del Teague. Why did you?
Dal, we have a list
Oh, sorry.
that I didn't call before. Elkins?
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, just to Tom's point earlier, like, I just don't feel like you guys are really presenting the full story. The city, changed the rules for zoning to not allow for hotels in industrial zones, and this community board supported it. And I don't really understand why you think we would approve this project, like, at all. It's not using an industrial space for industrial manufacturing purposes. We know that hotels fuel gentrification. This is a very targeted area for development like this. What is the community, the people that actually live and work in the area, getting from this? And you're trying to shift and say, like, well, we were going to do a movie screen, but now we're really just selling views of the skyline. It's like no one who lives and works here cares about you having views of the skyline for tourists coming to the neighborhood. So I'm trying to understand why you think we would approve this if there's no community give back at all.
Well, we're not necessarily asking for an approval. This is something which was approved and was, twice.
Okay, a letter of support.
Okay, well, look, I mean, this is just something we're just presenting this because I believe, Paul, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. This is something that is part of the BSA case. So I'll let Paul speak to to that rationale as to why we would be seeking your support. But this is just something where it has been approved, and I think what you guys supported was actually doing some sort of special permits. I don't know that it's specifically disallowed.
Well, look, I think that the place to pick up on that is that, the law says that the Board of Standards and Appeals must approve our project if we have met the findings, and we have. You can see here that substantial construction has been complete. Something like $6 million have been spent, which represents substantial costs expended towards construction. It's highly unlikely that the Board of Standards and Appeals would say no to our request to extend.
Excuse me, you started with common law. The judge decides whether you're substantial or not you saying the law. You said common law at the beginning of this.
Wait your turn.
So, we're really here to inform you and to let you know what we have planned and what we're, at the Board of Standards and Appeals to request approval for. So, there isn't this isn't a discretionary permit, so there's nothing that we have. There's no community program here. This is, this is an investment property where we've invested money in a site to develop it and have met certain requirements in order to continue doing that development. We certainly welcome your comments for a better development, and to the extent that we can make changes that both meet community goals and that are doable from our perspective. We have a long-standing relationship with the neighborhood and are active in the neighborhood in many different areas, and welcome your constructive comments and criticism. And if Mr. Burrows would like to sue us, we can have a judge decide. But we expect to go to the Board of Standards and Appeals and just present this case that you're seeing before you now and meet the findings.
Well, just Tom, I'll just one thing before you hop in. This is something that we've actually received a lot of support from the neighbors for, because before this was a very, very contaminated dump, and we can't really do anything here other than a commercial use. So everybody's very, very supportive of this. Everybody's been amazing helping us get this done. Like this is something that was a dangerous eyesore before. There were people camping out there. God knows what was going on over there, and now this is something which is going to become, God willing, like a very like a substantial anchor in this neighborhood that already has a lot of F&B, has a lot of interesting things going on. So these guys building this also, they're very substantial civic participants over here, and you'll be very happy to find out that what you're asking for is exactly what they do with almost every single other project they have. They are, to my knowledge, the most prolific builders of new manufacturing space all over all over Bushwick, and they have a much different philosophy than a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing over the past decade. These are people that want to build this neighborhood long term. You know, they want to bring in the light manufacturing, and maybe when we come back, we can have them present, and they could show you guys everything else that they're doing in the neighborhood, which is
Of
frankly
the
amazing.
buildings that they are involved with in the neighborhood, there are no other hotels. They're not a hotel developer. This is one site where they decided to build a hotel, and we're caught up in the change in regulations. And, you know, regardless of their opinions about, you know, whether or not there should be a special permit in place for hotels, they're in the middle of building one, and that's what we're here about tonight.
Okay, I would like the presenters to be briefer with their answers. Tom, I got your hand up on the board. I have people that's ahead of you that didn't speak before. And Paul, I'd like to know if you have any pictures to show us of your existing site or the work that you've done on it, how far you've gone with the site. Do you have anything on the site that you can show us on that?
Yes, we do. I believe Nick should have those to present. We have photography from the date that the regulation went into effect.
You know what? I don't have them on this laptop, and I'm not in my office, but I could bring them. But Miss Fuller, it's exactly what you see here. So when we show you the photos in May, it'll be like the reality of what this diagram shows.
I'm talking about as the site exists today. You said you started doing some work on it before.
It looks like this. I mean, like we have this much superstructure. You know, we have a big excavated hole. There's a bunch of supportive excavation.
Okay, bring the holes and let the committee see them.
Sure.
Brian.
Hi, thanks. So, to me, the BSA is a runaround to not have to do the special hotel permit. And if you read the text of the special hotel permit, it's all about use, context, and neighborhood. And I was a little concerned. You said critique your presentation. Your presentation used words about dead, nothing happening in this neighborhood. This site, 25 Stewart, is on the border. Flushing, you cross and you're like less than 5 blocks from Maria Hernandez Park. There's tons of residential there. Technically, I wonder why the other CB isn't here. And I feel like Dell should reach out and invite those people. Because again, this is a border area. It's really like the way this was presented, like this is sort of in the no man's land with nothing around, felt very false. And to me, it raises a whole lot of questions about why aren't we having an in-depth, like the special hotel permit is an in-depth discussion, and it feels like they're saying we're not even done making the plans yet. It feels like they're very much trying to get around having that in-depth discussion that would involve that other community board, that would give everyone time to talk and process this. To me, it feels like a runaround. And I would I don't know, like, I guess I don't know how you can say something that's like less than 5 blocks from Maria Hernandez needs to be invigorated. And I don't know.
We removed truckloads of car parts and hunking machinery and rotting cement. So it's less about the neighborhood and more about the site. So we believe this development will reinvigorate the site. And it's being a site in a neighborhood, it'll also have an effect on the neighborhood, which we think will be positive.
Yeah, well, and just to follow up on this, Ryan. So this site particularly is something which is kind of like a blight within the neighborhood. It's always been like there is like this division between Flushing North and South, and this like you have an opportunity here to connect the two in this area to kind of like strengthen the fabric of this neighborhood. So we think that this is something that that would function in the way that it's
my question is there anything besides like time and money for the developers as a reason why this BSA application is being go for? If there's no benefit to the neighborhood to have it move forward fast tracked and have it circumvent a new zoning that you clearly, if you're still like working on plans on a daily basis and changing things, don't have it thought through when you were building and it stopped. I mean, again, I really think that there should be like direct answering of why this shouldn't have that in-depth investigation that special hotel permit requires. And again, this community board like is the one that pounded down the door and said it's needed. So I feel like we should be writing the BSA and say this is trying to circumvent all the work that we did. I really think there needs to be a better explanation, something more than money and time.
We're not,
You have a
trying
main
to
meeting. You don't
circumvent
have to
everything.
answer right now.
Yeah, but I mean, just to be clear, we're not trying to circumvent anything. I mean, this is just the legal framework which exists, and we're just following the application procedure. You know.
Thank you. Tom Burrows?
I just would like to, they keep saying that they're thinking that this is a good idea for this community, that there's a need for spa services in this community. I want to know, is there a market study? Is there a business plan? Is there a hotel operator in their plans anywhere? Is this just a speculative building that's getting thrown up as fast as possible to circumvent the BSA and the special permit? Also, it seems like I don't know if it's 12 stories or 9 stories. It's way out of context, I would think, for that neighborhood, and how that's going to impact on that neighborhood of, small height residential buildings, as Ryan pointed out. And where are the elected officials from that neighborhood? What have they had to say about it? Has there been outreach to Evergreen or any of the surrounding community groups about the impact that this is going to have on that neighborhood? And they're building when the brownfield work isn't done. They're still designing, but they poured concrete. How did they get approved when they didn't have a final design? It's all about going around what they knew the special permit was coming. We've been pushing it for at least 5 years, and this is just an attempt to get around it. I think this needs to be looked into from all places. And to have 3 people from a law firm tell us what the law is not how the law works. You have different parties arguing different points, and if it's common law, then a judge decides, not just some lawyer who comes in from some high-paid law firm telling us, volunteers on a community board, that this is what the law is. That's not how it works. There needs to be more community input on this, and it needs to be more contextual, and it needs to reflect the community that absolutely exists there. And the fact that that was a dump site, why didn't you clean it up if you owned it? Why are we being told about all the garbage? You should have been maintaining that property.
Thank you, Tom. William Vega?
Thank you. I sit on the Euler Landmarks Land Use Committee. I feel we've been disrespected. They should have come to us first. And this presentation was supposed to be, and Madam Chair was very generous, be around 5 minutes. It's been much more. So I feel, again, we're being disrespected. I agree with others. This is going around, so thank you.
You're welcome. Dal?
William, they're here first because that's how we've done this in my experience in the past. Just that, like we would do any other land use, they come to the full board, the committee gets a sense of what the full board's thinking, then the committee asks them even more detailed questions, and we come back again to the full board. But I do think that I agree with you in terms of the disrespect. There are a number of us on the community board who are attorneys, and I will tell you, in my experience, the word substantial in and of itself implies that there's a subjective standard here. Substantial is not objective unless you have a particular mathematical calculation that is written in stone, and it's my understanding that's not the case. The other thing is to tell us that you don't need our approval, you're here to inform us. Well, maybe the process has changed since the last time we've done one of these applications. That's not my understanding. My understanding is BSA wants to know our opinion. And the other thing is I think that I would like to be able to have some contact with BSA before we meet at our land use committee, because I am concerned about the fact that this is circumventing the special permit process. So I also think that you've said that you've got tremendous support. I expect you're going to bring in writing all of that great support. And maybe you'll have people, maybe some electeds, maybe Leah will come with you to the committee and tell us what great support you've had. You're welcome to bring all of these people and show us all of this great support that you have, which you may have. I have no idea. You haven't shown us anything so far. So that's what I have to say for the time being.
Thank you, Dale. Deborah Scott. Deborah Scott, she's an attendee.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone else. Before I start, I wanted to say too, as a resident, I was outraged the way he approached our community board. I am a member of the community. I've also been a member of many community boards. And how dare he say that he's just informing us? We are the pillars, and where the community board rides, that's where approval is to get these types of things done. And where did he think that Maria Hernandez Park, that those people, I would like to see the surveys too, that he got approving this. This is unacceptable. These people that have this money to bring in these different types of buildings without the permission of our people. I'm just gonna stay there because I am just outraged the way he came and he told us what he's here for, not asked us or permission, because community boards are supporting the people in the community, and he has to get approval from the people first, and disrespecting the board is not where you start. Sorry. So yes, Madam Chair, my name is Deborah Scott. I am a resident in Greenpoint. I've been here for the past 4 years. One of my concerns was the factory that's across the street. That factory has been contaminated, and not only contamination, but it's actually underground and a lot of toxicity. We were not, as residents, informed about them coming to do this. I guess they building up buildings on this land. I was concerned about, we have children in the park across the street every day that's drinking this water. I had someone that I know across the street on DuPont at the Senior Citizen Center that said their water was black. No notices went up. I'm really concerned because we have, this area is coming up like with all of these new residents and our children. Who puts up the notifications for this project across the street?
They are, but Deborah, we're talking about this item. If you have a special item that you want to speak on at some time at the board, please sign up for that particular.
I did sign in for that.
Okay, well, we'll call you when we get to your name to speak on that.
Okay, also, can I mention another? Okay, so I can speak once you call my name for both of the items that I was concerned about, Madam Chair?
We got a long agenda. We got a lot of speakers speaking, and it determines how much time we take up on this item, whether you get 1 minute or 2 minutes when we call the speakers.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your
David
comment,
Needham,
Ms.
is that
Scott.
Rabbi
Apologize.
Needham? Is that Rabbi Needham?
Yes, I just, if you see me.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
You can't?
Now I can.
I tried to sign up as a panelist. I couldn't. I signed up as an attendee, and I don't know what the issue is that you can't hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, you hear me? Okay.
I just happened to go down to the attendees and I see your name.
Yeah,
So
you
I
see.
you.
Okay, and you hear me as well. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
I do. Yeah. Andrew, the whole name is not spelled out. Andrew. Okay, I guess he's not. Is there any more questions on this item?
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, was I unmuted?
sorry. I couldn't speak because I was muted, but I just wanted to mention I'm a member of the community here. I live off Morgan Avenue and often frequent the sort of Jefferson Street area. And in terms of what, like that particular corner, which is currently just kind of like a walled off area that doesn't really have much, I'd be happy to see like any sort of development there compared to what is there now. And a hotel project seems fine. I'd never heard of this project before, but I did just want to add a comment since I was listening, and that on that particular corner, I think any development would be better than what's there right now. And I'd especially appreciate the commercial and like tourism boon to the area. I mean, I think more business is probably good for a lot of the people there. That's all. Just wanted to give my 2 cents.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there any other questions on this item? No? Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Paul. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fuller.
You're quite welcome. Next item on the agenda is Bedford Avenue Associates.
Yes.
Okay.
Pardon me, Madam Chairman. Yes, Max Spokman. I'm the attorney for the applicant.
Chair, can I introduce where this is on?
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
Okay, so everybody understands that whenever there's a application where there's more than 250 people that comes to the SLA committee, we ask that they present to the full board so that if anybody on the board has questions that they can get them. Also, this is a hotel that slipped in before the new regulations went into effect. So I'm hoping that they're also going to tell us about their hotel as well. Because really, I don't think anybody even knows anything about it. So the point was for them to present to the full board so everyone on the board knows what's going on, and then they'll come back to the committee because they're asking for a hotel liquor license. Okay, that's the point of this. So pay attention, and if you got questions both about the hotel and how many licenses and whether they could be drinking outside and all that kind of stuff, because there's outdoor space, there's rooftop space, there's all kinds of stuff, I'm assuming. So ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, you may begin.
Thank you for that introduction, Tom. And I just wanted to reiterate what Tom said to set it apart from the application that you just heard. Will be before Tom's committee later this month to talk about the liquor license application. So it's nice to see everyone. My name is Max Bookman. I'm an attorney at the law firm Pazetsky and Bookman. Our firm is frequently before Brooklyn Community Board 1 with liquor license applications. With me is Megan Boberts. She is with Moxie Hotel. And yes, Tom, we did intend on telling you a little bit about the hotel, and that's what I plan to do right now. So this is, first of all, Moxie. What is it? It's a hotel brand by Marriott Hotels. They have several throughout the United States as well as in New York City. So this will not be the first, second, third, or even fourth Moxie in New York City. It will be the first in Brooklyn. However, it's on this one's going to be on Bedford between South 4th and South 5th Street. Construction is well underway. And to Tom's point, yes, this was before the special use permit law was enacted. They're hired, in addition to operating the hotel, and they're, like I said, experienced hotel operators, very corporate hotel operators. They're hiring an experienced hospitality group as their partner. They're also on the voted if necessary to answer questions. They have experience managing the F&B programs in hotels in New York, the Freehand Hotel, Los Angeles, Chicago, just to name a few. This is going to be a 216-key hotel, and we did submit to Tom's committee a detailed questionnaire answering all of the nuts and bolts of the application. I see Tom shrugging. I'll just go through some of those now, I think, which might be helpful for the whole board.
You'll have to send it again. That's all.
Okay, no problem. We'll make sure that you have it. So since I'm seeing that you don't have it, let me just cover some of the details that typically matter in the SLA and DCA review committee. So because it's a hotel liquor license, there's a restaurant on the ground floor. It's part of the hotel, and it's a full service restaurant that will be operated. There are 2 outdoor spaces, and that's always very important and subject of much focus. So there is one outdoor space that we're calling the garden, which is also on the ground floor. You have to sort of walk through the hotel lobby to get to it. It's going to be like an extension of the hotel lobby. There will be food service there as well. There'll be a food menu that you could order from the restaurant, so you can eat there as well as sit and have drinks. No bar in the outdoor garden space, however. So it's not a bar scene. You can't go anywhere to stand up and buy a drink. We're not building a bar in the garden area. So it's a seated area where, like I said, you could sit, you could read, you could have a drink if you like, you could order food from a menu that the restaurant will prepare. It's an 11-story hotel, and the other outdoor space is on the 11th story. So there is an 11th floor lounge. That's an indoor lounge, but it does have a terrace, and that terrace will close at 11 p.m., which is consistent with what your guidelines are. That's 7 days a week. The garden, I should have mentioned, will actually close at 10 p.m., which does an hour better than what your guidelines ask for. The terrace, like the garden, there's no bar in the outdoor portion, so there's no people standing around waiting for drinks at a bar, which I know is something important. They've done traffic and sound studies. They've hired independent outside folks to do traffic and sound studies, names that people on Tom's committee are familiar with. Al Feierstein from Acoustalog to do the sound study, Sam Schwartz to do the traffic study. And they issued recommendations. We included those in the packet that we'll make sure everybody gets before the committee meeting again. And they're going to follow the recommendations of those reports, which we can get into if anyone has questions about that. They've also hired a Capolino to engage in community outreach. So Ashley Capolino is here on the call. If there's any specific questions about the outreach, but just to summarize, they did 2 information sessions, which they did flyering in advance on all neighboring blocks to let people know that they're having an information session about the liquor license. The first one was not well attended. The second one was better attended. They also met with all the elected officials. And they also have done outreach and are in talks with St. Nick's Alliance to discuss job training and local hiring, which we know is something important. So that's an overview. I'm happy to get into any more detail. I know you have a long agenda. I'm happy to get into any more details in terms of questions that anyone has. And to Tom's point, yes, if there is feedback that anyone on this board has about the liquor license application, we would very much like to hear it so that we can address it and be ready for it before we attend the SLA and DCA review committee later this month.
Thank you. Is there any questions? I don't see any hands up. Is there any questions? Nobody has any questions?
The committee will have our questions. Max, just get us the application again, because we all searched through our emails and can't seem to find it. So
no problem. We'll make sure you get it tomorrow morning.
Submit the whole thing again. Okay.
I'll get it to you
I don't know
tomorrow.
where it went.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you, Max. Have a good evening and have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is PS 84 Play Street. Eric Pasagas.
Hey, hello. Hi, sorry. I thought I was going to do this as part of my report, but and if they were going to make a presentation, but I can quick run through it now.
Well, did you have somebody that wanted to speak about this or no?
It's on for public comment, Eric. You could just give a quick overview and then pick up the pieces during the board meeting and ask for a vote. Because we need a vote of ratification because the executive board has previously approved this per your committee's recommendation.
Right. I mean, that's right. I mean, what Jerry said is basically, so they were not, we didn't receive it in time for notice for the April meeting or for the March meeting. The construction on Sheridan Park has begun, so the kids have no place to play. The executive committee, this is PS 84, the executive committee issued a temporary approval. It's part of my report for transportation to vote on it to make it official. And there was an email that was sent around today, if anybody saw it, I didn't get a chance to follow up on it, but it seems like they had it for a week because we got a thank you letter from them from the PTA, but I guess they stopped or something. I don't fully understand what's happening there, but they need that play street on South First between Berry and Wythe for the kids to have recess, and so that's it. So we'll take it up on a vote in the board meeting.
Thank you, Eric.
There are
Next item.
there are no speakers on the item, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
I had a question, please.
Sure, Steve.
Thanks. Yeah, the board received a notice, I guess, a couple weeks ago about 6 approved open streets, and that, if I understand correctly, that block was approved as an open street.
That they need it for a specific play street. 132 got a play street when the pandemic was happening without the board approval. This is just kind of caught in a bureaucratic glitch. And yes, it was part of the announced play street open streets, but it's a play street. It's not an open street, so it's only closed from I think it's 10 to 2 for the kids to have recess. But it's still apparently DOT still needs our sign off on it, so it's just really a formality at the end of the meeting to have it go out so we can send them a letter and they can start using it for recess again.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is liquor license. We have quite a few speakers on liquor license. Therefore, the speakers on liquor license will get 1 minute. Can I have the speakers on liquor license, please?
Carol, street matter. I do not see Carol. Next is Nicole Sablak.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So I don't see 211 Nassau Avenue on this agenda, but the man posted a poster that he would be here. So I'm assuming he is, and I just don't see him. So I'm just here with all my neighbors to comment. So my name is Nicole. I live at 213 Nassau Avenue. This bar wants to open at 211 Nassau Avenue. So I'd be living wall to wall. I'm obviously speaking in opposition along with all of my neighbors. As a student, I think that quiet is very important. However, the fact that there are already 4 bars within 500 feet of my home is kind of frustrating. Most days I need to drive onto campus to study since I literally cannot do it at home. There are drunk people sitting inside and outside of these bars. You know, during the summer days, it gets worse because they actually do go onto the street. So it's actually scary if you have a car because you don't know if you're going to hit someone. I also think it's important to note that this exact location of this bar would be 1 door down from Arthur's funeral home, which I just feel is morally wrong. Although the owner can counter that, or the proposed bar owner can counter this by saying that there's already a bar on the adjacent corner, I would counter that by saying that when I was attending a funeral for my grandfather, you know, one of the worst days of my life, I had to go out several times to get air. What did I see? I saw people taking shots, running around Russell Avenue. They were drinking, screaming, singing. And I think it just made the experience 10 times worse. I also think it's important to say that the bar owner, when he was going around to get signatures, he told everyone that it would be a coffee shop. So a coffee shop and alcohol are obviously 2 different things. So I think that's important to say. You know, I graduated St. Stan's from 2013, and I would walk with my sister to and from school every day because it was fine. But now, even though I'm 22, I am like kind of scared walking around because there are drunk people everywhere, and now they're outside too. And it just doesn't seem like a great environment or a great idea. And one of my neighbors who's also on this meeting did speak to Assemblymember Emily Gallagher. And she said if there are more than 3 bars within 500 feet of our home, which there are 4 now, this would be the 5th. I'm assuming we get an extra community board meeting just to say how we feel, because as of now, the entire block is in opposition to this. And what we thought it would be is just a coffee shop. But
Please
then,
summarize, Nicole.
yeah, that's it. That's my summaries. We thought it would just be a coffee shop, and it's not. He just flipped on us and said it would be a bar.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Tomas Sablak.
Hello?
Yes?
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I post this bar thing. Sorry, my dog. I post this bar because, you know, it's next to my door. And basically, it's no room over here. We got already bar on the street. It's so noisy over here. You cannot open the window because it's noise. If you got another one, how can you live over here? We got it 2 blocks away. I mean, 2 houses away is funeral home. It's there. So people crying because they lost their loved ones, and across the street they sing happy birthday. You know, that's not right. You got another one over here. I don't believe it's right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Renata Sablak. Not here. The next speaker is Teresa Sablak. Not here. Next speaker is Doug Street Matter. Not here. The next speaker is Carol Street Matter.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can't see anyone. I guess it's blocked, but yeah, my concern is I'm questioning if there is one single benefit to having a bar or tavern in this community. I can't understand how it's going to be a positive impact for this neighborhood at all. Not only is it pretty much a family-oriented location, it's also kid-friendly. I mean, the park across the street, the main event there is the playground. So I just, it doesn't make any sense. No one's presented any positive aspect to having a bar opened in this 2 doors down. It makes no sense.
Next speaker is Marcena Woolert.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, before I begin, I just wanted to briefly say I had a lot of trouble getting on to this meeting, and I'm not sure exactly why. I think it was the browser I was using. So I think it would be important maybe to mention that, you know, this must be done on what is this, Safari, I guess. It wouldn't work for me on Chrome. So these are all just little details. It took me 20 minutes to log on. Also, this block is predominantly Polish speaking, so I'm happy to, you know, assist in the future with Polish translation. I don't think it's fair for it to be only in English. And there's a digital divide here with elderly folks who do not surf the internet. So anything in Polish and that sort of assistance would be great. I'm also extremely concerned about the fact that there was this poster was on 211 Nassau Avenue, And in order to be here at this meeting, I had to put an agenda number. However, I could not put an agenda number because 211 Nassau Avenue was not on the agenda. So I was in this loop trying to figure out, and I just put 211 Nassau and I tried it out and it happened to work. But I don't understand the disconnects really, if this was just an error or something, what happened. But I'm wondering if this caused any neighbors to become confused or frustrated. And that is one of two reasons I'm requesting yet another meeting, to give us some more time to get more folks on the meeting if they would like to be. Okay, briefly, I'm going to read a little statement I wrote. My name is Majana Waller. I was born and raised in Greenpoint. I have lived at 215 Nassau Avenue for most of my entire life. The proposed wine bar at 211 Nassau Avenue is 2 doors down from my home. Nassau Avenue between Russell Street and North Henry Street has historically been a quiet residential block. In the past few years, 3 bars opened, including a new one called the Esther on the corner of Nassau and Humboldt, maybe a little more than a week ago. These are within a block of my home. The 4th 211 Nassau is proposed to open on our doorstep. I think it is important that our block is treated with respect, including quiet and cleanliness. You can see my elderly neighbors and landlords literally frequently sweeping the front of their buildings. There is not a cigarette to be found. This is what I have grown up with and cherish. I would like to add that my neighbor, a Polish American senior, was unable to read the sign posted at 211 Nassau Avenue and does not use the internet. I represent her and other folks in my building who are concerned about a bar, but are at work right now in my building. The gentleman who would like to open the bar was dishonest with members of our block. I was told that the bar would close on weekends at 1 a.m. And then when I saw him again, I was told 2 a.m. My neighbors were told this to be a coffee shop, but I was told it would be a wine bar. Either the prospective renter is not being honest or does not have a clear plan of what he wants to do. Either way, I am not convinced this will be a good neighbor for us. We are a block of working class people, students, children, and seniors, including a family member of mine who cannot leave her home and would have to listen to this all the time. Those benefiting from a bar will not be those who live on this block. It will be those who come in from other streets to enjoy alcohol and then move on. So again, this would be, if this passed, it would be 4 bars within 500 feet of us. So, let's see. I, along with Nicole, am asking for at least one more meeting. We are really hoping that the prospective renter is there. Being that there are so many bars so quickly opened near us, we believe that we are entitled to that, as well as the confusing lack of this agenda item. I thank you all so very much for listening, and I hope that our words are heard. Thank you.
Thank you. I would suggest that you attend the SLA meeting on this item.
The next speaker is Vincent Willard. Vincent, you're unmuted. Vincent?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Vincent Paul. I'm the landlord.
Seems to be a bad connection.
Okay,
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm saying that
We can't hear you, Vincent.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Barely.
No, can you hear me now? Hello?
We can't hear you, Vincent.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Now you can, okay, good. Yeah, as I was saying, there's too much noise already there, and house, children, house. They need to study, they need to sleep. Disabled person, senior citizen,
Do you know if he's still connected, Joanna?
It's not showing the microphone. It is unmuted.
Okay, we can't hear him. Tom, can you speak on that and advise, about your meeting and maybe put it on your agenda for your next meeting and ask people to come and speak on this issue?
I have spoken and spoken and spoken and written and emailed and texted. It is very clear that almost the entire neighborhood is opposed to that location. And there is no public need for an additional bar within those 500 feet. So I can't say what the committee is going to do, but I've gotten all the emails from all the same people. Both Arthur and Bogdan know all those people. Arthur is on our committee whose funeral home is 2 doors away. So we're totally aware of it. And if I was a betting person, I wouldn't bet on that location. But I can't really say until the committee gets to vote. So I've gotten all the information about that location. And it's on our previously postponed item. That's not on the public hearing list, but it is on our agenda for our next meeting, which is the 26th.
Okay, so good. It's on your agenda, so I would ask all those people that have objections to this bar to attend. Is there any other speakers on the?
Yes, we have 3 more people on this item and then 2 on Oak Street. Eric was, Eric?
Yes. Hi. How you doing? Just wanna add on to. I agree with what the speakers that have previously spoke on to 211 Nassau Avenue and how it's the neighborhood is becoming overwhelmed with the amount of places that serve alcohol. And just specifically at that location between 211 and 213, there's a tree and there's barely 3 feet of pedestrian pathway between. So people will be crammed between a gate and a tree, and then come right onto outdoor tables or whatever the person is proposing for that location. So it's like not even accessible because it's squeezed between at that location. That's all. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Next is Barbara Woodler. She's not here. Next is Beatrice Woodler. Not here. Megan McNerney. Megan?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. I have a brief statement in regards to Taqueria Ramirez on the corner of Oak and Franklin. I'm going to read. My name is Maggie McInerney, and I live next door to the Taqueria Ramirez on the corner of Oak and Franklin. We initially worked with the owner-operator to create a community agreement. However, since he did not get a liquor license, he has said he is no longer under contractual obligation. While we want to support his business, his disregard for the neighbors is challenging and continues to get worse. The taqueria has an indoor capacity of 18 and does not promote takeout. They only offer plastic plates that must be returned. The operator does not have a sidewalk permit, yet puts out portable benches for outdoor seating. Patrons gather in crowds outside to eat, preventing the public use of sidewalks for pedestrians, and the overcrowd uses my house stoop as restaurant seating. There is no liquor license for this business, but patrons are also bringing alcohol and cannabis to the sidewalk area, which makes for a noisy, boisterous setting. I have a 4-month-old baby, and the activity outside my house has been extremely disruptive. We have asked the operator to control the crowd, but that has not helped. In fact, they leave the windows and doors open, which contributes to the noise and rowdy atmosphere. The operator dumps wastewater into the street after cleaning the restaurant at night. We have concerns for obvious sanitation and environmental reasons, as well as the smell of the taqueria and the wastewater being so overpowering that we cannot open our windows. The operator has installed major restaurant equipment and vents in the restaurant location and has also outfitted the 2-car garage next door with refrigerators and sink, as well as what appears to be for indoor dining, all without appropriate building permits. He has no certificate of occupancy for the garages, even though he has been using them for food prep and storage and future indoor dining. We are concerned for our safety. Additionally, even though the garages have been converted, he is still using the driveway curb cut as a permanent parking spot and calling the precinct to ticket if anyone should park there. The operator has recently decided to build an outdoor structure, even though he initially agreed to not build one. Since the legal business address is 94 Franklin, we have asked that the structure be placed on Franklin Street instead of residential Oak Street, as Oak Street does not meet DOT regulations with smaller sidewalks, proximity to trees, and ADA compliance. But the owner has disagreed. I am coming before the community board to ask for any help that can be offered, as I currently feel very helpless. Thank you.
Next speaker is Paul Bowman.
Hello, you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Paul Bauman. I reside at 101 Oak Street, 2 doors down from Taqueria Ramirez. Originally, we loved having the Taqueria on the block. However, the sentiment has changed due to ongoing problems. The Taqueria relies on patrons lining up outside, spilling onto the street, sometimes onto neighbors' stoops. There is minimal space inside for eating, and so most of the eating is outdoors. Giovanni is operating the business much like a food truck and is now planning to participate in the open restaurant program, increasing his footprint to several times the size of his small restaurant. His business model continues to change, and we are even unclear as to what the legal capacity is. Customers often block the sidewalk, creating a hazard for passersby, and we have also witnessed dumping of wastewater directly onto the street. We have no leverage at all, so as far as we know currently. Even the fact that he has converted the garage and built it out without any permits. The community cannot hope for help from the buildings department, as they have a years-long backlog, unless the community board might be able to intervene. Giovanni is also adding a dining room in the garage, which we understand to be illegal, and we don't know that building codes are being followed, leaving further questions of safety. He is also building an outdoor dining area, and it is unclear if DOT understands that the Taqueria intends for this structure to be built on Tiny Oak Street instead of on much larger Franklin Street, as per his official address, 94 Franklin Street. We believe that a structure on Tiny Oak Street will not be in compliance with many DOT regulations for outdoor structures. Giovanni has disregarded the agreement he had made with the community initially, once he withdrew his application for a liquor license, and posited that this also meant the community agreement was no longer applicable. Giovanni says that he has a right to do anything he wants to do, and I quote what he said to me verbatim: "There is nothing anybody can do about it." And that is how we feel now, powerless. Any help you may be able to provide, we would be grateful for this. Thank you much.
Thank you.
That is all liquor licenses.
Okay, Councilman Ressler? Councilman?
Great. It's great to be with you all. Thank you, Chair Fuller, and all the members of CB1. I'm out on the south side, making my way back to Greenpoint. I just firstly want to express how disturbing this morning was. Couldn't have been a really more harrowing event that we had in Sunset Park, and I'm very hopeful that the law enforcement officials are going to track down the person who's responsible for this. And I just most of all hope that everybody who was impacted by the violence today turns out to be okay. The initial reports have been that there'll be no fatalities, but I've been monitoring it closely and in touch with my counterpart in Sunset Park and committed to do whatever we can to help support the community there. I also just wanted to wish a really happy holiday. We've got Pesach and Easter the same weekend, so Zizan Pesach and a happy Easter to all. I hope that everyone gets to spend some joyful time with their families. And I wanted to just share a few quick updates. Firstly, we have made our recommendations for appointments to Community Board 1 to Borough President Reynoso, so we're hopeful that he and his team are going to announce those appointments shortly. We went through a pretty rigorous process in reviewing applicants on our side. I think we've got some great returning and new additional members to the board that hopefully are going to make for an even stronger CB1. Also wanted to thank everybody who had a chance to make it out to our community assembly just about a week ago. It was our inauguration and community assembly event. Over 250 constituents from the 33rd came to join us, and we had great breakout sessions where residents shared their priorities and suggestions around transportation issues and housing issues and climate issues and sanitation issues and so much more. And so I really wanted to thank everybody for their input. We've got action items and organizing initiatives from increasing composting enrollment to community cleanups happening all around the district. And if folks are interested in getting involved, please reach out and let me know. And I wanted to also just mention a couple of the land use items that recently came before CB1 are making their way to the council. So we had our hearing today on 103 Lee, 840 Lorimer's coming up shortly. Just to be, to keep you all apprised, at 103 Lee, we're really pushing to try to modify the unit mix and see more 3-bedroom apartments. The initial proposal was essentially all 1 and 2 bedrooms. So we're trying to make sure that families can be accommodated over at 103 Lee at that development there. And at 840 Lorimer, we're looking to increase the amount of affordable housing and see some significant investments in McCarran Park. And I'm particularly interested in a dog run over there. So those are some of the things that we've been talking about. We're working on community benefit agreements for both of those rezonings to ensure that there's real accountability and that the recommendations that you all made and the items that we advocate for are memorialized and have tangible enforcement behind them. And then just lastly, I appreciate the opportunity of listening to most of the meeting tonight. And on the last couple items, especially on Oak Street, our office has been engaged. We'll do our best to try and mediate and address reasonable concerns from neighbors the best we can. And, Taqueria Ramirez has gotten a ton of national press attention for the quality of the food that they're bringing. And I've had their tacos a couple times and they are amazing, but they need to be a good neighbor and they need to work with our community. And so we'll do the best we can to try and insert ourselves there and help. And if there are ever any other ways in which we can be of assistance that I can help and that my team can help, please just give me a call or send us an email, district33@council.nyc.gov. We'll do anything we can to be of assistance. We lastly just started 2 pop-up offices. The first and third Thursday of the month, we are at Jonathan Williams Plaza, one of our NYCHA developments. They have community space for us that we have set up an office. And the second and fourth Fridays of the month, we're at the Greenpoint Library. So while our main office is down on Atlantic Avenue in Borum Hill in the southern part of our district, we're making sure that staff members are up in South Williamsburg and in Greenpoint every other week, or every week, I should say, to be accessible to all of you. And I just want to thank you all for your partnership and the last plug I'll make is we're doing a dog run survey. So if you have any concerns about the quality of your existing dog run, suggestions for new locations for a dog run, ways we can improve maintenance and operations with the Parks Department, please let us know. It's a priority of ours to try and improve conditions for our 4-legged friends. So I could keep talking all night, but Chair Fuller, I appreciate the opportunity to greet our friends on CB1 and thank you for the chance to be here.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Thank you for everything you're doing, and happy Passover. You're welcome.
And happy
Thank
Easter to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, council member. The event was very successful, and also the housing committees was very successful.
Thank you, Mr. Gross.
Does anybody else have anything for the councilman? No? Okay, thank you, Councilman. That concludes our public session. Can we have our moment of silence, please? And let's dedicate our moments of silence to Ms. Bella Sable and her family, Tion Brooks and his family, Sonia Iglesias and her family, to the victims of the shooting in the subway today, to the refugees in the UK and all over the world, also the homeless people that's all over the world. Thank you. Thank you. Can I have the roll call, please, Jeremy?
Gina Argento, Bogdan Bakarowski,
Yeah.
Lisa Bamonte,
Here.
Gina Barros,
Here.
Tion Brooks, Eric Berzatis,
Here.
Tom Burrows, Iris Cabrera,
Yeah.
Phil Caponegro, Frank Carbone,
Here.
Stephen Chesler,
Here.
Michael Chiricella,
Here.
Teresa Cinciata,
Here.
Giovanni D'Amato, Erin
Here.
Drinkwater,
Here.
Erin
Here.
Drinkwater,
Here.
Arthur Dibinowski,
Here.
T. Willis Elkins, Julia Amanda Foster, Chairperson Fuller,
Yeah.
Joel Goldstein, Joel Gross,
Here.
Katie Denny Horowitz,
Here.
Sonia Iglesia, Moisha Indig, Rosanna Kaminsky,
Here.
Ryan Coonan,
Here.
Yoel Landau, Marie Lianza, Abraham Leibovitz, Yoel Lowe, Trina McKeever,
Here.
Sante Michelli, Toby Moskowitz, Martin Needleman, Aaron Nieves, Mario Domerick,
I'm here.
Janice Peterson, Dana Racklin,
Here.
Ella Sable, Isaac Sofer, Robert Solano, Del Teague,
Here.
Tommy Torres,
Present.
William Vega,
Here. Here.
Pia Vieta. Could somebody shut off the microphone, please? Robert Solano, Maria Vieta, Stephen Weidberg,
Here.
Simon Weiser.
Here, you hear me, Simon?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
You didn't mention David Niederman.
I did,
Okay.
but
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
You heard me, Sonia?
No, I didn't, Sonia.
I'm having audio issues.
Okay, so noted. Let me find you on the list here. Okay, anyone else?
This is Gina Argento. I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Thirty-two members answering the call.
Thank you, Jared. Can I have 32? Can I have approval of the agenda, please?
Joel Gross.
Rosina
Joe
Kaminsky, second.
Ozina, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Abstentions? Motion carried. Can I have approval of the minutes, please?
Joe Gross.
William Vega.
Joe Gross, William Vega, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Motion carried. Can we have the speakers for the next portion of the public session, Joanna?
Sure. Deborah Scott.
Good evening once again, everyone and Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so besides the plant, the next thing would be in the back where we live, we have a beautiful waterfront, as you know, and we have a baseball field. We have a lot of disrespectful dog walkers who, when the kids are playing in that park or they're using that park for their dog to walk in, and even sometimes I've seen them come in and while the kids are playing there with their dogs and they don't belong there. In the mornings, if you don't catch them before 7, because they now know the patrol, because patrol has like actually ran them off, but they have no respect for the residents back there. When I say it's overwhelming with the dogs, can any signs be put like big, of fines, because they have no respect.
Public safety, you want to comment on that?
Is that a Parks Department park? I don't know what signs are posted there.
Okay,
is
so
it,
I mean, well,
is
I
it
know
Parks
number one, I know
Department?
it's not a doggy park. It has to be part of parks. It's back here in the where we have the waterfront. So I had called the advocate office at one time, and someone did contact me, and they started sending the patrol, and patrol started coming. But now the dog walkers know the time they come, so they run out of the park where there are little baby soccer league players, the adult soccer people are playing in there, and other people are using the court, but they are coming on top with these dogs and they are disrespecting that field, and they don't have, and I'm not saying it's 1 or 2 dogs. I'm talking about in the mornings can be over 25 dogs in this one area.
Do you think it's Newtown Barge Park? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about back here in Greenpoint, back where I live at. I live at 5 Blue
We
Slip.
can't see, Ms. Scott, we can't see what you mean by back here. Is it a dress? Is
Oh,
there a
I'm
park?
sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me apologize. My apologies when I say back here, because I'm actually in the building where it's occurring. So there's the waterfront, and it's like adjacent to the waterfront. There's like a park where people come where they actually have the fireworks and everything right here behind where the building I live in, and they have like a field, like you can actually play baseball. They play soccer in.
What's the address of your building?
My address is 5 Blue Slip.
This is Mary from Parks, if you want me to comment
Mary
on it.
from Parks. Okay, I
Yeah,
was gonna
that's good.
call
Thank you,
Mary.
Mary.
Yes, this is
yeah.
Thank you. A park issue.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mary.
no problem. So this is Newtown Barge Park. I was just there actually the other day related to something that I wanted to talk to you guys about later, but there are a lot of dogs that are off leash in that park, and we've alerted our Parks Enforcement Patrol to go there. It's on their regular route. There is a closed off synthetic turf field where kids play soccer or they play softball. And there are signs posted that say no pets with a picture of a dog on the sign at every entrance to that park. Yet individuals still go inside there.
Absolutely.
So we do send our Parks Enforcement Patrol there. It's on their regular route. We try to do it as often as possible. But unfortunately, the rules don't apply, I guess, to some people. But we'll continue. And Deborah, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Please call 311 whenever you notice this. And this way we'll have a time and a date that something happened, so that we can, respond, either in time or perhaps the next day at that time.
Right. Yes, I did do that, and I also contacted the public advocate office because I'm very aware of that. They're not supposed to be there, but it doesn't make a difference. I've watched them do it over and over again, and now that I'm retired from the Board of Ed, like when I use the gym early in the morning, they're out there, and they know when they come now, and they know when they leave, and then they all come. It's too many dogs. It's really, really too many dogs.
Well, hopefully the dog run at Blue Slip will open soon, and then, Box Street Park, we have a dog run planned there for
Oh.
hopefully the near future. But, please just definitely, let us know when it does happen, and we'll do our best to get enforcement out there as much as possible.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Next
And
speaker,
can the NCOs work with you at all for that as well?
They can, and they have. We can bring them
God,
back
if
in.
you
We'll
go
talk
to the precinct council meetings, which are the beginning of the month,
yeah, every Wednesday.
and you
Yeah.
bring it up, the commander NCOs know to keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's gone. Okay. All right.
Can I
Thanks.
interject on this issue for a second? Because this is the same problem also at Transmitter Park. But I love to say we understand the lack of capability right now because there is very little staff available for the Parks Department. But Transmitter Park, for example, we fence all the lawn since the winter. And despite the fence for receding, of course, there is used regularly. So this park, which I know very well, every day I go for a walk, there they use as a dog run. So there is even not an issue of calling when that happened. We know precisely when that happened every day. There are dog runs, so maybe if it's possible, this is a situation we don't need to call. Probably at certain hours we should have patrol there and I don't know what kind of enforcement, but it's an old story since many years.
It's a national problem. Dog walkers believe every piece of public land is an off-leash park for them. I had the same issue downtown LA. It's all over the place. Any piece of grass, dogs are on. So I don't know how we get that message across. Because kids have to play on that grass, and there's dogs, doing whatever they're doing on the grass. And like the dog owners have absolutely no concern for the children that are playing on that grass.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other speakers, Joanna?
yes, next speaker is Rachel Hunt. Rachel's not here. The next speaker is Chris Hamilton. Not here. Next speaker is Sarah O'Brien. Hello, Sarah? Hello? Oh.
Yes.
You're muted. Sarah? I think there's a bad connection with, she is unmuted. Sarah?
Okay, Joanna, call the next speaker and then you can call her again after that person speaks.
Okay, the next speaker is Kyle Gorman. Kyle?
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name's Kyle. I'm from the city's Department of Transportation. I've spoken many times at the Community Board 1 Transportation Committee meeting. I manage our Open Streets program here in New York City. Tonight, I'm here just to let everyone at the Community Board know and to spread the word that on May 14th, which is a Saturday at 12 p.m., we're going to be hosting a design workshop on the Berry Street Open Street, location to be determined. But the goal of this design workshop is to continue with the public engagement that we've been doing around the open street to really continue to evolve it. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about at this workshop are proposed public space improvements, as well as other traffic calming measures to build on the success of the open street, as well as build on some of the, or really address the feedback that we've heard from the community about adding more robust bike and pedestrian infrastructure, addressing the need for more commercial loading along the entire open street corridor, and of course, as we always do at DOT, working with our emergency service partners at NYPD and the fire department and all of our other colleagues across city government, just to make sure that everything is working well for them. We will be sharing our typical flyer and just some other outreach materials with the community board within the next week or so you can start promoting it and including it in your own newsletters and things like that. But just to reiterate the day again, we are going to be meeting on Saturday, May 14th between 12 and 4 p.m. on the Berry Street Open Streets, hosting a design workshop, and really looking forward to speaking with the community more about the open street. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
You're welcome. It's Miss Miss O'Brien again.
Oh, hello. Sorry for my absence. I am here on behalf of Grow NYC. It's environmental nonprofit. You may know them from the McCarran Green Market, Farmers Market that is held on Saturdays. I just wanted to inform everyone in the community about a free reuse event that's happening this Saturday on Berry Street between North 12th and North 13th Streets. It's an event where people can bring their gently used items such as clothing, housewares, books, many other things in usable condition. We sort through the items and then put them out for people to take for free. And this is just a one-day event in this location. And yes, I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. So I have sent the flyer over to the community board. But if anyone else would like to receive the flyer directly or a copy of the press release, I'm not sure if there's a chat here where I can put my email address. Or you can, visit our website at grownyc.org/swap. It's going to have all the information about the event.
What time will your event take place, Miss O'Brien?
Yes, the event is taking place from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is all for speakers.
Thank you, Joanna. Next, committee reports, SLA.
Okay, everybody should have a report. Couple of changes on it. There were 25 new applications, and out of the 25 new applications, the committee is recommending approval on 11 of those. We're recommending denial on 5 of them. 6 of them requested postponement because we needed more information or they needed to get more things together. 2 applications were withdrawn, and 1 we did not have to take any action on at all. I would note item number 12, and this is why it's important. I keep telling you, read the lists. Element 88 came to us and we asked them to get additional outreach to their neighbors on Withers Street, including Marie Lianza and Lisa Bamonti, who are board members that live close there. And Ms. Bamonti had a meeting with them on Saturday, and the applicant has requested a postponement because there needs to be a further meeting with not only residents in the building where this location is, but also immediately around that building. So that one we're changing from an approval to a postponement. And Eso Cafe, which is number 13, we recommended approval if they remove their outdoor space, which they did, and for them to reach out to Mary O'Domerick. Now, I don't know if Mary, are you here tonight? If Mary's here or not. I know that she's getting a walkthrough tomorrow The applicant didn't ask for a postponement, but I'm suggesting that perhaps that one we should postpone until the next meeting, although we're recommending approval with them having reached out to Mary. So I don't know, is that I thought Mary was here earlier. Has anybody seen her? I don't know if you can see people in the meetings. So the change to number 12 is we're not recommending approval on number 12, we're recommending a postponement. We're continuing to recommending approval on number 13. They have done outreach to Ms. O'Domerick and they'll be meeting with her tomorrow, but if people believe that should be pulled out and postponed, I would entertain pulling number 13 out. Otherwise, I would ask that all of the items listed under new, that we follow the committee's recommendation. All the renewals, we provided them to the 9.0 and the 9.4, and we have no history of complaints or problems with any of them, and I haven't heard from any board members on those renewals. So we're recommending that the renewals be approved. And the previously postponed list, 291 Kent, they changed their hours of operation, and they had meetings with the community, so we're recommending an approval of that one. 157 Wythe, they amended their application, and they're only doing beer and wine at this point. They took liquor off their application, so we're recommending approval of that one. Williamsburg Market did do a walkthrough. They did more outreach to the community as we requested, and we're recommending approval of that one. Number 4, last month, F and Raw Studios presented to the community board, and lots of support for them, so we're recommending approval on that one. And Garlic Knots, there was some confusion. We've recommending postponement on that one. So other than with the change of number 12 to a postponement, and then if somebody would like to recommend we postpone number 13, I thought Mary would be here and would ask for that. I would ask that the whole of the report as written be approved.
I would like to make the motion to to
I second that.
approve the committee recommendation, please.
Question on the motion?
Yeah.
Brooklyn Flea, you guys were okay with approving that renewal, their liquor license?
What secret name are they going under?
What is the address, please?
What's the number on the list?
Number 7 on renewals.
We had no complaints regarding operation or anything from any of those. If the board would like to pull an item out and recommend, we can do that. Seems I've given up on the fight against Brooklyn Free.
I'm gonna say it feels like we should ask them to come and present. I feel like enough of the neighbors have constantly have asked for that, for them to have them talk. But I agree. I don't know that it will do anything, but
Okay, well, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I think Ms. Bamonte seconded it, didn't she?
Yes.
Okay, motion made by Bogdan, second by Lisa Bamonte. Roll call vote, please.
Gina Argento, Bogdan Bakarowski,
Yes.
Lisa Bamonte,
Yes.
Gina Barros,
Yes.
Tian Brooks, Eric Berzadas,
Yes.
Thomas Burrows,
Yes.
Iris Cabrera,
Yes.
Phil Caponegro,
Yes.
Frank Carbone, Stephen Chesler,
Abstain.
Michael Chirichella, Teresa Cinciata, Giovanni D'Amato,
Yes.
Aaron Drinkwater, Arthur Dibinowski,
Yes.
T. Willis Elkins,
Yes.
Julia Amanda Foster, Joel Goldstein, Joel Gross,
Abstain.
Katie Denny Horowitz,
Abstain.
Sonia Iglesia,
Yes.
Moisha Indig, Bozena Kaminsky,
Yes.
Ryan Coonan,
No.
Yoel Landau, Marie Lianza, Abraham Leibovitz, Yoel Lowe, Trina McKeeva,
Abstain.
Sante Michelli. Too much noise. I can't hear the vote, guys. Sante Michelli.
Abstain.
Thank you. Toby Moskowitz. Martin Needleman. Rabbi Niederman.
Yes.
Karen Nieves. Mario Damrock. Janice Peterson. Dana Racklin.
Yes.
Ella Sable. Isaac Sofer. Robert Solano. Del Teague.
Yes.
Tommy Torres. William Vega.
Abstain.
Maria Vieira. Stephen Weidberg.
Yes.
Simon Weiser.
Yes.
Nineteen yes, 1 no, 6 abstention, motion carries.
Thank you, Jerry. Continue.
Everybody, please go through the list that was on the board agenda for today. There's some mistakes, there's some confusion, but please look at the locations and addresses. There's also going to be 6 postponed items: 759 Grand, 211 Nassau, the Moxie Williamsburg Hotel, 1 Oak Street, 56 North 9th, and 364 Grand Street. Please look at them, because this past month we had the applicants, like I said, one applicant met with Lisa Bamonte and Marie Lianza and are bringing up issues that were not discussed with the community. And the other one, I had Mario Domerick talk with them, because if you've got locations near you that you're concerned about, we can ask them to meet with you and go over stuff, so that when if the bar does open, then they know you can hold them to what they promise. And we can write that into the agreement with them. So please go through the list and see if there's any of them that are significant to you in your neighborhood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Women's issue, Jan hasn't answered the roll, so she gave a written report. So if anybody got any questions on that, I guess we'll have to bring it up next month. Del Teague, land use.
Okay, thank you. So I have one item that needs to be voted on, and then the second item is just information for you.
Can you bring me a napkin?
Sure. So just throw
Trina,
it through
can
the
you mute
wires.
yourself?
Trina, we can hear you. Ask for a napkin. Okay,
Please
so this
continue, Del.
Thank you. This is 114 Kingsland. It's a variance, a BSA variance. The applicant came a year ago telling us they wanted to build a 4-story, 8-unit market rate residential building on a block that is essentially all 1 and 2-story buildings. We suggested that they, rather than just vote no, we gave them a chance to try to find some way to either have some commercial space that might provide some jobs or some affordability in the units. So they came back now a year later, and they did not make any changes. They said that they talked about it and thought about it, and the changes we suggested were not financially feasible. They felt that they met the 5 requirements, and so they want to move ahead with the same plan and application they had last year. Those five findings, as you probably know, are that there's a uniqueness in the site. They said their site was unique because it's 25 feet in length, that there's no possibility of a reasonable return by conforming to the as-of-right use, that their application conforms with the character of the neighborhood, there's no self-created hardship, and the requested variance is the minimum required. There were 9 members present, by the way. The committee members asked for clarification on how the applicant calculated the financial information. We just didn't understand how they were only going to be making an annual profit of $26,000. It also didn't seem likely that they would go through so much trouble for such a small profit, but the presenter was not able to give us any more details. The committee also pointed out that the building that they were planning to do was out of scope with the surrounding buildings, and members were very concerned that allowing this variance would just start the domino effect of further gentrification and increase in rents without giving any kind of community benefits back to the community. So, recommendation is the committee members agreed unanimously to have me recommend denial of the application because of the following. 1, the building does not conform to the character of the area, which consists primarily of 1- and 2-story buildings. It is out of scope with the surrounding buildings and would not provide any affordability or other community benefit that might justify the requested increase in density and height. Furthermore, the projected excavation of undisclosed depth is a potential source of damage to the adjacent buildings. Number 2, the applicant did not prove that the requested variance is the minimal variance required. Number 3, the applicant did not prove that there is no reasonable possibility of a reasonable return with strict compliance to the current zoning, or with a smaller building that is in character with the surrounding buildings, or with some affordability that might justify a building with so much density. So I need a vote. The vote would be to deny for all of those, for those reasons.
I recommend we vote against.
Is there a second?
I second.
Trina?
Gina, I second.
David Niederman also.
Who's second after Vega?
Gina. Gina
Trina?
second. Yes.
Okay, Vega,
I also seconded. So we had 2 seconds.
don't
Maybe
need
I'm
one.
a third.
we don't need but one, Rabbi Needleman. Thank you.
I know. Put me down as a third.
Thank you for the laugh.
I'm joking.
Vega and Gina. Jerry, roll call, please.
Okay, just so everybody understands, the committee is recommending denial of this application. So a yes vote is in favor of denial, a no vote is against denial. Gina Argento,
I abstain.
Bogdan Bakarowski,
Yes.
Lisa Bamonte,
Yes.
Gina Barros,
Yes.
Tion Brooks, Eric Berzadas,
Yes.
Thomas Burrows, Iris Cabrera,
Yes.
Phil Caponegro, Frank Carbone, Stephen Chesler,
Yes.
Michael Chiricella, Teresa Cinciata, Giovanni D'Amato,
Yes.
Erin Drinkwater,
Yes.
Arthur Dibinowski,
Yes.
T. Willis Elkins,
Yes.
Julia Amanda Foster, Joel Goldstein, Joel Gross,
Yes.
Katie Denny Horowitz,
Yes.
Sonia Iglesia,
Yes.
Moisha Indig, Rosanna Kaminsky,
Yes.
Ryan Coonan,
Yes.
Yoel Landau, Marie Lianza, Abraham Leibovitz, Yoel Lowe, Trina McKeever,
Yes.
Sante Michelli,
Yes.
Toby Moskowitz, Martin Needleman, Rabbi Niederman,
Yes.
Karen Nieves, Mario Domerak, Janice Peterson, Dana Racklin, Bella Sable, Isaac Sofer, Robert Solano, Del Teague,
Yes.
Tommy Torres,
Yes.
William Vega,
Yes.
Maria Vieta, Stephen Weidberg,
Yes.
Simon Weiser, .24 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention, motion carries.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you. Now, the next is just a discussion for you. As I'm sure you all remember, Councilmember Ressler promised that he would start having pre-certification meetings with us, with developers. And we had a meeting on 30 Franklin Street. And this is the applicant here wants to rezone 13 lots, 4 of which are owned by the applicant, from M11 to M12, with the goal of creating a new industrial business incentive area. And if they get this, then the applicant would then be allowed to apply for a special permit to develop under the IBIA rules. And part of that, of course, is they don't have the same amount of parking that is required under the current zoning. They can build a little higher so that they can have taller buildings, not buildings, ceilings for industrial space. They must have some light industry, and then of course the rest would be commercial, and then a bit of retail. So this building would be a
Excuse me, Dale.
six-story building.
Excuse
Yes.
me, Dale.
Yes.
If you're not speaking, please mute your mic, please. Thank you. Sorry, Dale.
Thank you. This would be a six-story building. They also talked about being very committed, they said, to using geothermal technology. And they will have a green roof, but they said that the green roof, they were hoping, they thought it would be lovely if they had it double as an event space. So most of the committee members and other people who were not on the committee warned them that they would probably have very strong opposition to an event space. We asked them to think of some other use for the roof, and we discussed with them in more detail what the issues were and what the issues of the community had with these event spaces. So let's see, what else should I just point out to you? There were also questions about whether they needed the proposed height and whether they could possibly, reevaluate and possibly have less than the 6 stories. And then the committee discussed among ourselves at our committee meeting. This is now not the pre-certification meeting anymore. We agreed that we should ask for a requirement of affordable industrial and commercial space in these requests for special permits. And we also agreed that we should really explore the objections to roof event spaces and have a policy on those. And we felt it was worthwhile to continue the discussion of whether this applicant needs the density that it's currently requesting. So there's no vote on this. This was all pre-certification, and we just wanted to update everybody and keep you all informed. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Dale.
Excuse me. Can I just
Transportation,
add-
Eric?
can I just add something to what Del said, please? Yeah, it's 6 stories, but the 6th story is double height. So it would be 20 feet taller than the building that's under construction next to it, which is actually 6 stories. So that's where we, raised some concerns. So.
Right. And they explained that was so that they could have really, nice high ceilings for the industrial, but that's right. It would be 95 feet tall.
Thank you. Eric, transportation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay. All right. So we had a meeting the week after the last board meeting. We went through a couple items. I have 5 items for a vote. They were all approved unanimously. So I think we can do them on block, but if anybody has objections, I'll save them to the end and we can pull them out as necessary. The first item on the agenda was Kingsland Avenue at the end of North Henry, Greenpoint by the digester tanks. This has been an ongoing problem back there for quite a few years. There are Jersey barriers that are put back there that have broken up the flow of the street. It's unclear where they actually came from. We think it's sanitation. There's a lot of school groups coming back for the to access the nature walk. There's also just workers down there. There's no signage. There's no striping, and it just made a dangerous situation worse recently. I want to really thank Willis and Karen Nieves for putting together an amazing presentation for that meeting. We also had good attendance from the 9-4 precinct, sanitation, DOT, Andrew Epstein from Gallagher's office, Ms. Nutter from Lincoln Wrestler's office, and we also had Broadway Stages, Alaco, and Metro Fuel attending the meeting as well. So it was a very long discussion about the problems that exist there, and the kind of safety measures that need to go in. There's also trucks that there's a particular operator back there that just warehouses their trucks because there's no signage. It makes it very difficult for NYPD to get convictions on those tickets or judgments on those tickets because of the signage, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of problems back there. There were 2 calls for a walkthrough and a stakeholders meeting following that meeting, which both happened as follow-up. And there's some other follow-up that needs to happen. But I will say that at the stakeholders meeting, DOT was able to present a draft proposal for some of the fixes that they'd like to do back there, which is something that we would like to see implemented late spring, early summer, because it's also on schedule to be repaved, and we'd like it all to kind of happen all at one, while the iron's hot, so we have paving season and painting season coming up. We should get it all done because this problem has persisted for years and years and years. There were so many moving parts to this item. I'm really just kind of giving you the Reader's Digest version, but essentially the immediate fix that came out of it was to ask the board to draft a letter to sanitation to ask for overnight cleaning signs on the south side of Kingsland Avenue from North Henry to Greenpoint Avenue, just in the interim. And then once DOT presents its plan, we can move forward with the more robust treatments. Now, typically, as we went through with land use earlier, and as Del explained, usually these presentations come to the board, full board first, and then they come to committee for review. Because of the timing of the schedule, we would really like to ask the indulgence of the board to have the presentation at the Transportation Committee on Thursday, where other stakeholders can attend. Stakeholders were at that meeting, so we had a really good input from the people that are using that area on a daily basis. But what we'd like to do is have them make the presentation, DOT that is, to make the presentation for the fixes, on Thursday, and then bring it to the board for a for either approval or whatever the committee decides after its vetting on Thursday. Just a little reverse order, just because it's time sensitive and we really would like to get this done, get it started in May. And if we go to June, then it has to go, it'll take a whole, month for them to get organized to get it done. So we really like to just like switch the schedule, the protocol on this particular item. But the motion result of that was to get at least overnight cleaning signage on the south side of the street. And the report it details the concerns that were brought up and the responses from the agencies. So folks that had a chance to read it can look at that. And anyone's welcome to send me questions or attend the meeting on Thursday. That has a relationship to the nature walk or that area behind Greenpoint Avenue where Kingsland dead ends. The second proposal was brought by our non-board member, Paul Kelterborn, who is with Friends of Cooper Park. As many of you know, there are constant problems with Maspeth Avenue, trucks illegally using that as a conduit from Morgan to Metropolitan. There have been speed bumps that have been put in. We did finally thankful to DOT for putting a stop control at Kingsland and Maspeth, but the corner of Olive and Maspeth still remains a problem. There's a couple, even though there's daylighting, there's constant delivery trucks that are parking in the daylighting. There are trees that obscure if you're on Olive trying to make the left onto Maspeth, you can't see the cars and they can't really see you. And the proposal that Paul Kelterborn brought through was to raise the road bed to the level of the curb, so that it creates a natural fiscal incentive to slow down or to stop or pay attention. There was discussion about precedent. There are no raised intersections like this in New York City right now. There was discussion that there are some pilots that DOT is going to be putting in around the city, but they're not immediately forthcoming. So maybe this could be one of those pilot projects. There's a lot of other things that engineers would have to consider. We did talk about the stuff from the toolkit that could happen as well at that intersection to make it safer. But the meat of the presentation was about these raised crosswalks and the kind of benefits and additional things that would alert pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists, especially to the fact that that's a highly used. You have the Montessori school there. You have a lot of folks crossing from Cooper Park, or they're coming from other parts of the neighborhood. There's the dog run. There's the skate park. There's all kinds of uses, and Cooper Park is very busy. If you haven't been over there in a while, you should really go take a look, because it's a very well-used park and very well maintained by the Friends of Cooper Park and the Parks Department. So anyway, we had a long discussion about it. It was a good discussion, and we also will be asking for a letter to DOT to support. Well, I'll read it now, and I can read it back at the end. So it was Community Board 1 to draft a letter to NYC DOT to support a study of the Maspeth Avenue and Olive Street intersection to implement resources for neck downs and other treatments to improve pedestrian crossings and motorist bicycle visibility, as well as consideration of a community plan to raise the road bed at this intersection to the level of the crosswalk. And that was also voted unanimously. And Jerry made the comment that we should be looking at neck downs now, which I think the committee all agreed was a good idea. And that's why that neck down is in that letter first, and then we would send Paul's plan with our letter to the DOT for consideration for a study. Then we had two base license renewal, well, one base license renewal and one that's moving locations that we have no complaints and not passed without objection. in old business, we had some conversation about the Wythe Avenue BQE exit, and we'd like to schedule a walkthrough with committee members, but also stakeholders, folks that live, directly adjacent to it. Simon, of course, who this is also one of his causes, as well as mine, to fix this dangerous and slow exit off the BQE. So we'll be trying to put that together at the end of May. And we will be talking about the district needs statement for transportation at the next meeting, and stuff that can go into that. Jerry mentioned, wanted to remind folks that the light that we got approved for Graham and Richardson back in August still has not been installed. I believe New York 1 was out yesterday. Looking at the problem, unfortunately, I couldn't make that meeting, but hopefully we can get that resolved soon. And we we'll be talking about the Cambridge Park and the safety concerns there at the next meeting. And then Kevin Lachera, a member of the public, let us know that Assemblywoman Gallagher had gotten some, was announcing that there'll be some left and right turn treatments on McGinnis Boulevard to help the traffic flow and safety there. Those should be installed in the coming months. So, and then I'll go through the motions, and if anybody has any objections to vote them en masse, we can talk about it. The first item is actually, let's make this a separate motion. So I would like to make a motion to support the executive committee's approval of a play street for South First between Berry and Wythe to support PS 84's recess program while Sheridan Park is under construction.
William Vega seconds.
I second, Luis Cabrera.
So I don't know if we want to do that vote. We have a vote for that. We'll just do that, and then I'll do the regular committee motions, Madam Chair.
Pardon me.
So we have a motion and a second. I think we should just vote on the PS 84 individually, and then we'll do the other committee motions following that vote, if that's all right.
Why can't we do them all at one time?
If there's no objection, I can do that.
Yeah, because we only had 25 people the last roll call. If we don't have a quorum, it's not going to get through.
Okay, fine. So William, do you want to withdraw your second, and we'll do it all at once?
I withdraw, but I do support.
Okay, great. Okay, so that'll be the first motion. Second motion was regarding the Kingsland Avenue area, and it's Community Board 1 to draft a letter to Department of Sanitation for overnight cleaning signage on the south side of Kingsland Avenue from North Henry to Greenpoint Avenue. Next is Community Board 1 to draft a letter to New York City DOT to support a study of Maspeth Avenue and Olive Street intersections to implement resources for neck downs and other treatments to improve pedestrian crossings and motorist bicycle visibility, as well as consideration of a community plan to raise the roadbed at this intersection to the level of the crosswalk. Brooklyn Community, third motion, or fourth, sorry. Brooklyn Community Board 1 to send a letter of no objection to New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission for base renewal for United Limo CMSVC Corporation and a dispatch office location change for Go Car Corporation. Also passed unanimously, and that's it. So I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Could you kindly note in your wordage that the recommendation for PS 84 is a ratification of the executive board's recommendation, please?
Sure. So, okay, so I guess if, I'm making this up. So the Transportation Committee would like to recommend that the full board approve. I'm sorry. The Transportation Committee would like to recommend full board approval for the use of South First Street for recess and recreation by PS 84 until the completion of the work at William Sheridan Playground is completed. Supporting the Executive Committee's interim approval of this Play Street. Does that work for you, Jerry?
Yeah, I just want people to understand that the executive board approved this based on
Right.
the recommendation of the Transportation Committee. And per the bylaws, the executive committee is allowed to act upon ratification of their action by the full board at the next upcoming meeting, which is tonight.
Okay, so yes, then to ratify that vote for the Play Street.
I second.
I think we had
We
to do
don't have a
first.
first yet.
William Vegas first.
I second Luis Cabrera.
Yeah.
Okay, William Vega and Katie Denton Harwood. Roll call vote, please.
Excuse me. Gina Argento, Bogdan Bakarowski,
Yes.
Lisa Bamonte,
Yes.
Gina Barros,
Yes.
Tian Brooks, Eric Berzadas,
Yes.
Thomas Burrows,
Yes.
Iris Cabrera,
Yes, sir.
Phil Caponegro,
Yes.
Frank Carbone,
Yes.
Stephen Chesler,
Yes.
Michael Churchella, Teresa Cinciata,
Yes.
Giovanni D'Amato,
Yes.
Erin Drinkwater,
Yes.
Arthur Dibinowski,
Yes.
T. Willis Elkins,
Yes.
Julia Manda Foster, Joel Goldstein, Joel Gross, Katie Denny Horowitz,
Yes.
Sonia Iglesia, Moisha Indig, Ozena Kaminsky,
Yes.
thank you, Ryan Coonan, Yo
Yes.
Landau. I'm sorry?
I vote yes, Ryan.
Thank you. So noted, thank you. Yo Landau, Marie Lianza, Abraham Leibovitz, Yo Lowe, Trina McKeever,
Yes.
Sante Michelli,
Yes.
Toby Moskowitz, Martin Needleman, Rabbi Needleman, Karen Nieves, Mario Domrock, Jan Peterson, Dana Racklin,
Yes.
thank you, Bella Sable, Isaac Sofer, Robert Solano, Del Teague,
Yes.
Tommy Torres,
Yes.
William Vega,
Yes.
Maria Vieta, Stephen Weidberg,
Yes.
Maria Vieira? Did I hear? No. Simon Weiser, $24 yes. The motion fails for lack of a quorum.
Thank you, Jerry.
Jerry, did you hear me? It's Steve Weidberg.
Yes, I have you, Steve.
Thank you. Yeah. Jerry, do you have Tish? I
Si-
said yes.
I
You
have
have-
Tish. Simon just texted me with a yes vote, if that's acceptable by the board, because
It's acceptable.
okay, so Simon Weiser voted yes, so
Oh,
that's 25 yes.
wow.
That's
Motion
good.
motion now
Yay.
passes by one.
Yay, yay,
Thank you,
yay.
Simon.
Thank you, Simon. I know you can hear us, but thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everybody. And just one more time. So this Thursday is the next Transportation Committee meeting. We will be publicly reviewing the plan for Kingsland Avenue north of Greenpoint Avenue. And I I hope that I'm sure DOT will be putting this through for the executive committee to be put on the full board agenda for May. But hopefully we can vet it properly again on Thursday, and then get it to the board for May for approval, so we can start this work this summer. So I thank you all for your indulgence, and have a happy holiday, everybody.
Thank you. Likewise, Eric. Mary Sogler, Mary Parks.
Yes, so I submitted some testimony.
Excuse me a minute, Mary. Simon? Simon, you in?
Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, you hear me?
You want to confirm your yes vote, please?
Yes, sure, yes, John, yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yes, good. Bye.
That's okay.
Is it speaker on there?
So I submitted my update to you, but I did want to just bring your attention to some artwork that we're going to be installing at Newtown Barge Park. I met this week with Noah Bernstein. She's a local artist. She works out of GMDC. She's a long-term Greenpoint resident who has also worked with other advocates like Laura Hoffman on the rezoning for Greenpoint Williamsburg back between 2005 and 2008. I learned she's a pretty big advocate for butterflies and migratory birds. Anyway, she created a sculpture called Peace Gorilla that was from November 2020 to August 2021, was at Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza near the UN. We're going to be putting that gorilla in Newtown Barge. It's pretty impressive. It's a really cute display. Hopefully in the summer it will be installed there. But this is a really great representation of a Greenpoint artist. The Peace Gorilla was actually cast at Betty Mackey Foundry down on India Street. And so, you know, I know that we discussed at the board, I don't remember when it was, it could have been a year ago, it could have been more than a year ago. But we talked about having more local artists in our parks. And I think this is a really good example of what the community board asked for, and what, because of your advocacy and getting the word out, we were able to do. So I just wanted to thank you guys for your advocacy on that, and just let you know that it will be coming this summer. And I hope you have some time to go and see it, because it's really impressive. And that's all.
How long will it be there, Mary?
For a year.
Thank you.
So it's a part of our temporary Arts in the Parks program.
Thank you.
Yep.
Political announcements. Jonathan Pombozo from the District Attorney's Office. Jonathan, are you here? Is Jonathan here?
Chair, can I say something to Mary about parks issue?
Yes.
Mary, I spoken to her, emailed her. I was asking for enforcement on the 9:00 p.m. Closure of the park on Lynch. I want to be on the. It should be on the record. Should be on the record that I am requesting that there should be enforced a 9 p.m. closure of the Lynch Park. Thank you.
Simon, so just I just want to make sure you received my email. Parks has, I did send Parks Enforcement there on multiple occasions, and there was no infringement. They did not see anyone in the park after hours. And so please, you know, if there is an issue, please have individuals complaining, call 311 so that we can get there. But Parks Enforcement has been to the site. They have not seen anyone in the park after hours. And then just on that note, we've received complaints that the park is being locked by members of the community. This is an unauthorized closure of a New York City public park. And so our PEP will be cutting locks if the park is locked. So please, if there's anyone in the community that you know that wants to lock the park, have them call me. But we shouldn't take it upon ourselves to lock any parks. But we'll keep going.
You know, I'm not aware of that, but I just do want to make aware of that. I did ask that some community groups had asked that they are willing to cover the cost of hiring a private firm, security firm, and pay the cost for or either parks should close it or parks authorized that they should enforce the 9 p.m. closure.
So if there is a need to close the park, either parks through our PEP team or through the NYPD will enforce a closure of the park. But as I said, we have not seen anyone in the park after hours who shouldn't be there after hours. So
But it says it's locked. If it's locked, how can you see anybody there? So I mean, you're contradicting. Either if it's locked.
No, Simon, I'm sorry. So they were there. Our parks enforcement team were there when you first got in touch with me. The park was not locked at that time. This past week, we have received some reports that the park was locked, unauthorized closure of the park. So what I'm saying is that, we shouldn't be locking, community members should not be taking it upon themselves to lock the park. Please reach out to the Parks Department or to NYPD. And if there is a need to lock the park, then we will work very closely with either our Parks Enforcement Patrol or the 90th Precinct to address conditions in the park and to close the park. And please,
Yeah, but
if
just
there
to
are issues in the park, please have people call 311. We will get the complaints and we will address it. But right now, we do not have any complaints about the park. So please have them call 311.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Is Jonathan here? Jonathan?
Do not see
Oh.
him.
Okay. Is there any old business? Is there any new business?
Yeah, it's Trina, and I have my hand up. I want to go back to the people that spoke about Oak Street. I'm wondering, because it's not an SLA matter, it's not something that really has an avenue on the community board, but I'm wondering if the board would consider sending a letter to DOT echoing or just citing what was brought up in terms of the size of the restaurant versus what has been permitted on Oak Street as a sidewalk or a street. I can't remember what the proper word is, but just echoing that complaint so that it doesn't get sort of lost in DOT's the many, just whatever's going on in terms of these sidewalk enclosures, so that could, if the community board writes the letter and cites the testimony of the residents, I think maybe it could be attempt to get more attention that, and I guess Lincoln is going to consider it too, but I think it would be very helpful if the board would consider writing a letter just reinforcing what the testimony that we heard today to DOT about the approved sidewalk shelter for Taquerio Ramirez.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Sante Michel here. Tapping again on the One Oak Street, just a reminder to the board that there was a very long meeting many months ago, the SLA committee and the Greenpoint Coalition. We put in place an agreement, and just for the record, to understand what the dynamic are, that the applicant decided to withdraw from the agreement. It was linked to the legal license, so it could have the freedom at that point to ask for a structure, which we have limited. It was definitely not included in the support agreement, and that dysfunction that this is bringing, and this is happening again. And I'm going to re-mention another application, which there is a similar issue arising. We have prevented. We knew that this was going to happen, and I know that some of the residents maybe they felt a little bit more sympathetic. We are sympathetic about the business, but unfortunately, those are the dynamic. And now the structure on Oak Street, and Trina lives on the street, despite the fact there is a commercial overlay with the corner, it's an historic district, it's a very small street, practically it's a residential street. And that's what you heard tonight. I want to mention there is a new license is going to come again, but as a matter of fact, it has come again the SLA review committee many months ago, and that was One Oak Street. One Oak Street is literally an empty lot. Tom Barrow knows very well. It's a concrete slab on the waterfront of 250,000 square feet, 250,000 square feet, with an adjoining empty lot of other 110,000 square feet, and neighbor that is actually adjoined to Transmitter Park. There's just a fence that divide. And last summer, the community on that location, that's why this license was denied at the SLA review committee. Last summer, in that empty lot, there were this hot tiny Sunday where illegal rave with the bursting music that spread all over in the neighborhood. Definitely there was alcohol around illegally. And there is also a drive-in, and we don't even know the legality of that drive-in, which I'm sure it requires a special permit. I don't think there is any of this permit. People go there with a car, drink, and so having a legal license there in an empty lot on a slab, immersed there by the water and by the residential district, and there is affordable house that is just completed, they just put on the market. There are 100 to 200 units there. So even though the possibility for this resident to express their opinion, but definitely it's a major issue and concern. And then there is another new license of a Come Again, and it was approved with an agreement made by the community, a support agreement, and that's 66 Greenpoint Avenue. I believe now this applicant, probably the reason why he's there, we didn't see this new application, is challenging. And that was a 500-foot trigger with a 15 license within 500 feet. And we support the license with the special dedicated agreement, special parameter put in place. Despite the 15 license, we should have 15. Now they're challenging that. And I want to prepare the board that this is an issue, and despite the agreement, they want to break the agreement. And they got a license because they came to an agreement with the community. So Tom Barrows, the chair, knows well, but I want to remind to everybody, you will hear about this again. Thank you.
Can we go back to the taco restaurant?
Sure.
Would the board be willing to write a letter to DOT about the approval of the restaurant in the street, the restaurant structure in the street that I guess they have approved? But it is on residential Oak Street. And what they've approved is a space that's 3 times the size of the restaurant itself. And it just seems really, and it really is a nuisance on the block, as was cited, just because there isn't space inside the restaurant, so people are collecting on the sidewalk. And it's just a nightmare for the people that live at that end of the block. You heard from 2 of my neighbors tonight. And would it be possible for the board to write a letter to DOT about this site?
So this is not about a liquor license, it's about the open street dining.
Yeah, and that's the trouble. There really isn't leverage because there is no liquor license. He's not looking for a liquor license. He's just looking to expand his operation into the street, and it's already on the sidewalk and blocking the sidewalk. And it's really, maybe the Public Safety Committee could take a look at it too, because it kind of falls through the cracks because it isn't an SLA application, but it is DOT that I guess has given him the permit for the structure. And it would be really great if the community board could just bring it to the attention of DOT that this is a problem, this particular permit that they've given.
Yeah, and to be specific, Trina, to use the language that we should use, it's not an open street, but it's an open restaurant. It's at the roadside application to put a street on the roadside. As a matter of fact, they've been operating with a couple of chair illegally outside there, a couple of stool, a bench. I believe the community has been okay, but there is a crowd that is constantly out on the sidewalk. And I believe that this is what is telling this is that there is a major issue with this program and the fact that there is no recognition. Yes, we do have this commercial overlay in this 2-story building that turn around the corner for a quarter of a block, right? And they are technically commercial, but in a time where you had a store, it was closing, a retail store, it closed at 7 o'clock. Now, not only you have a place that is, yes, withdraw from the license, but now you can carry alcohol, so you can literally, you don't even need to sell alcohol. They can buy alcohol because that's what the governor said for the next 3 years. And you can bring the alcohol with you And so maybe it's a council issue too, where we should let the council know that maybe we need dedicated technical understanding of what these overlay are when these happen. Maybe places where you have a 50-story tower and really you are a commercial overlay, there is no impact, but not this a 2-story, 3-story house. And I mean, it's unfair, you know, to the people who lives there. And my block is one of that block too, and could happen in my block. So it's Oak, it's Noble Street, it's Milton, and so many other blocks. They experience this type of issue.
This particular taqueria too is wildly popular. I mean, and the food is great, but because it's wildly popular, there's so many people, and they just stand in line. The sidewalk. Yes.
You heard the council members say it's worldwide known. They're very happy they're getting the publicity. The mayor wants increased nightlife because the city is not getting enough tourists. The effort was made by the city council to allow those street structures on every single street in the city, including residential blocks. There is no system to regulate them. The DOT just hands them out like water. There's no way to, city wants them everywhere.
It's a self-certified process, right? I mean, it's a self-certification right now by the restaurants. This phase will end, I believe, this fall when the new one that's the new permanent program will start, which they're still debating. So I feel like, again, the CB should 100% like weigh in on the issues, but what I can see, it's still in the self-certification through fall of 2022.
Is Rhonda Messers, is she still on the call? Is Rhonda on the call? Eric, is Rhonda coming to your meeting on Thursday? Eric?
Yes, she will be there.
Okay.
There were regulations that were promulgated. None of them are being followed. There are boxes
Well,
on
they
the
made,
that are
Tom,
hermetically
they made the restaurant across the street from the office reduce the part of the structure that came out onto the sidewalk. They made him cut it back by 12 inches because he was over the guidelines. So they're out there and they're enforcing.
Jerry, I agree with you. They are out there, they are enforcing, but 311, I don't know if everybody on Oak Street is calling into 311.
There's no 311s.
But Tom, if you do make complaints, DOT absolutely does answer them. I know that for a fact. I mean, and I know that they're out there inspecting, and they are, saying, this is what has to be done, this is what has to be changed, so on and so forth. But if people on Oak Street want to bombard 311 with calls, by all means, go ahead, because they will respond. DOT.
Right, and if they do a DOB 311 about the structure in the garage and give the number to the office, Jerry will check with it and it'll be followed up on. But they have to do the 311 calls.
Well, that's what I was getting to, because
there has to be a matter of record.
No, but Lisa, if I can explain to you, this
Sante,
is sorry.
One moment, please, because Susan Anderson called the office about this location too, and she asked who she could speak to about it. And I know she has had several conversations with Rhonda about it. So maybe if Eric wants to put this on his agenda for Thursday, Trina, you could direct some of those people to come to the Transportation Committee and get an answer directly from DOT, because the program is totally under DOT's protocol right now, and I'm told it's like that for the end of the year. When I spoke to her about the restaurant across the street from the office, they didn't want to know nothing. They wanted their 12 inches, and he had to hire somebody to cut back the structure 12 inches.
That's a great idea, Jerry. So I will, and Eric, is it okay? Can we put Oak Street, the taqueria, on the agenda for Thursday?
I mean, we can take it up in new business, just because there's not time for proper notice with 2 days away, but
we can hold on to Rhonda to let her know that.
But yeah, we could definitely take it up in new business and do that letter in new business, and then maybe at the May meeting, because it would be good to have DOT come and just explain what's going on with it now that we're, when it first went in, it was we're just putting these in because of COVID, but the situation's obviously different now. So,
Yeah, the owner
And
just
as,
feels so
as Ryan
empowered
mentioned,
because
you
he's
know, in the
gotten
fall,
approval.
it's going to
And it's
change
a real,
again. So I think it warrants a full discussion, but we can definitely get that letter done in new business for sure. And just again, yeah, call, make sure DOB gets called too, because DOB will respond for illegal use of a garage.
The garages,
I
definitely.
don't want to get into the specifics, but because of my conversations with people from the area, I've notified the health department and the Department of Buildings, and DOT was notified about the activities that are going on there, where members of the community alleged that the restaurateur was illegally using the two adjacent garages. But
Yeah,
again, I
that's
don't want to
definitely
get into the specifics of it because we have taken the appropriate action.
okay,
yeah,
you
that's
guys,
definitely
thank
a
you
health
very
department
much.
thing, because if they're
Trina,
using the garage, if they're using the garage as a prep space, that's definitely not. They're definitely going to get a violation from.
That allegation was sent to the Department of Health, and they were very responsive.
Great. Okay. Cool.
But also to clarify, Jerry, because this is not just a matter of on infraction because you use 12-inch more or not, you were not supposed to use. I believe they could even just put a smaller structure in front of the actual storefront, but the storefront is actually inside the residential district and still remain an issue, the impact on quality of life. Then this is people is experiencing. You hear people, yes, and the smell, we understand the activity and the people. Now we have a structure inserted inside.
Well, that's why I said
Sounds like the transportation committee is.
DOT is the gatekeeper, and you'll have the commissioner's person at the meeting.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank
Thank
you.
you, Trina. So this will go to the transportation committee and come back with a recommendation. Is there any new business?
The meeting's this Thursday.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
new business?
yes.
Hi, yes, Tommy Torres. We're looking forward to the start of our 2022 Little League season, the Williamsburg Sports Leagues, which participates in the Sternberg Park, and Roberto Clemente. I help lead our local Little League. We're currently still looking for players. If anyone in the community or the community board gets any calls in terms of Little League, ages 4 to 12. We're going to be playing mostly Saturday, early Sunday, sometimes on Fridays. We're having our kickoff, our opening day ceremony, the 23rd of April. We look forward to the community coming by as we parade up Grand Street and head over to Lindsay Park for our opening day on the 23rd of April. Any information, please let me know in terms of baseball or any other sport like flag football, basketball. We have some other seasons as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Is there any other new business? Hearing none, thank you, everybody. Have a happy Passover, happy Easter. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
William Vega, motions.
I second.
Everybody motion to adjourn. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Happy holiday. Be safe.
Yes,
Good
please.
night.
Wear your masks. Wear your masks.
Yes,
Be
thank
safe.
you.